Good evening. Welcome to the All Candidates Forum for the upcoming municipal election. My name is Brad Koff and I will moderate tonight's discussion. My goal is to facilitate a forum this evening that is as fair and inclusive for the candidates and the audience as possible, but most importantly, an evening that will be informative for the voters. Of course, that wouldn't be possible without candidates, so I will start by introducing them. Firstly, I want to point out that we have all of the candidates on stage together. These include 3 candidates for mayor, Marcel Michaels, Benita Smith, and Stuart Taylor, as well as 7 candidates for council, Ryan Magoon, Alan Steineman, Joanne Race, Tyler Waugh, Dooley Nelson, Don Harrison, and Alberta Stashik. You'll notice that there's one council candidate missing. Trevor Haas asked me to express his sincere regrets for not being able to be here. Trevor had work commitments that couldn't be changed, and he did ask me to tell the audience that he's happy to take a question. He's available on Facebook. Pretty easy to track down, and I'm sure that's the case for all the candidates. The format for this evening will be as follows. We'll begin with opening remarks. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make an initial statement. Next, we're going to move to a handful of predetermined questions that have been formatted by a small group of local citizens. The intention with these questions is to hit on a few key topics and hopefully touch on the topics that are going to be of the most interest to the most people here. I'll talk more about that when we get there. Throughout the evening, we will work our way through the candidates randomly to hear their answers. However, we will always rotate first through the mayor candidates and then through the council candidates. They've all drawn numbers to determine the speaking order. Each candidate will receive 1 minute to answer a given question, and it is expected that all questions, if you ask one, be framed in such a way that all candidates are able to speak to it. In the name of fairness and ensuring that each candidate has equal airtime, singling out one candidate isn't going to be allowed. Also, please be brief with your questions. We want to hear from the candidates as much as possible. We will close the evening. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to make a closing remark, and those will be in the reverse order from their opening statements. And at 8:30, roughly, I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break, and assuming not everyone wants to leave at that time, we'll come back and we have the room till 10. So, without further ado, let's begin. Opening remarks, starting with candidate for mayor, Marcel Michaels.
Thank you, Mr. Kopp. My name is Marcel Michaels.
Brian's running up.
There you go.
Hi, my name is Marcel Michaels. Thank you, Brad, for the introduction. Tonight we're going to have a theme. There will be many. And I'm going to start off that teamwork will be a big aspect. Sometimes we're like, what's the difference between a councillor and a mayor? Well, a mayor has an extra responsibility. The mayor is going to have to work with the 6 elected councillors right to my left. I'm going to have a voice, I'm going to have opinions, I'm going to have thoughts, but I'm going to have to combine that, if I'm selected as your mayor, to make sure that each and every one of them that are elected have a voice too. Sometimes we elect councillors who don't have experience. I've been through there. It's a really tough task at first to really run and understand that you can't change the world right away. Most of us, we have all these dreams and these ambitions and we can't do it. That'll be part of my responsibility is to work. If there's somebody up there that you care about and you believe in their thoughts, that's also part of my beliefs. I have to empower them to make that common goal, not just my own. Secondly, it's experience. As I mentioned, I went to school for political science. Some things were good, some things were not quite so good. There's a lot of ways to govern, but the common foundation was always that it's about the whole. It's not about me. It's not about one individual. That you have to represent all the people in our community, whether you're the 1%, the 20%, or the 100%. The last one is trust. For me, it's a big thing. We have so many politicians who essentially say, yeah, I'm going to do this, but 2 weeks later, 2 years later, they change their mind and they're not invested in that anymore. Well, I have a young family, I have a mortgage, I'm invested in Hinton. I was having a conversation with a good friend, and I said, yeah, I have a growing family, I'm going to be here for the next 25 years. He corrected me, he goes, no, you're not going to be here for the next 25 years. You're going to be here for the rest of your life. No, and it made me think, my kids are going to have grandkids just like many of you, and that's where we struggle. So I really believe you need a mayor, you need a council who is invested, not just saying it. I want to stay here in 25 years. I want to help those who, they're going to be away from their children, their grandchildren. They can't have the amenities that we need in our town. I need you to trust in me that those are my same goals. So to wrap the whole concept up, I am invested in this community. I have the experience. I've learned from some of the best people, whether it's administration or past councilors, past mayors. It's important to bring everything together and see Hinton not just for 4 years. My goal is, if you elect me as mayor, I want to be mayor for 20 years. Some of you might not want that. But at the end of the day, that's the goal. I'm not going anywhere, and I love this community. So I hope throughout the night that you see the theme of...
Thank you, Marcel.
Oh, thanks.
Next, candidate for Mayor, Stuart Taylor.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow councillors, I'd like to take a time to make a kind thanks to the Hinton Voice and the Chamber of Commerce and Brad for organizing this event and for emceeing it. 4 things I'd like to speak to you about tonight are fiscal management, respect for the voters, and transparency, accountability, and attitude. In my judgment, these are considerations of local government, and they ensure good governance and a thriving community. While it's true that projects matter to a community, so does the process that facilitates those projects. Reality is that if we work on the fundamentals of the process, which means these 4 considerations that I've just mentioned, then we can ensure good governance and a very credible decision-making process. Good governance is not just about the decisions we make, it's about the way we make those decisions. I support economic growth for the community, recognize that means tax restraint, and traditional small-town values of living within our means. These are values that should characterize local governance. I favor plebiscites for major projects. I believe council's role is not just to manage, but to focus on governance, which means representing people and consulting people. There hasn't been a major project in the last 4 years that couldn't have been explained to the public in a concise manner, the outcome being for them to present their opinion in a plebiscite. In terms of transparency and accountability, elected officials have a duty to obtain and review information regarding a town's financial affairs. All financial information not protected by FOIP should be fully disclosed to the public, no secrets. Currently, Hinton has a troublesome bylaw that empowers council to deny and withhold information not just to citizens, but even from elected council members. This bylaw has to be changed. In terms of photo radar, all I can say is that I believe there's a difference between a good ticket and a bad ticket. In terms of council members working together and interacting one with another, council members should not have political allegiances to theirself. Cooperation, yes, but our allegiance should be to you, the taxpayer. Municipal Governance Act speaks nowhere about team allegiances. It speaks about responsibilities to the voter. In my concluding remarks, I'll talk about my vision for Hinton. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Candidate for Mayor, Benita Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, fellow candidates, citizens, and dedicated volunteers and organizers of this event. Thank you for taking the time to come here tonight, citizens, for listening to what we have to say about our platform and about our vision for our community. Politics is a complex issue. Many systems are involved in the big picture, from the individual to families to small business, service agencies, large organizations, regional partners, federal, provincial, and international stakeholders. I believe in teamwork. Excuse me, butterflies. Acting as mayor of the municipality is about relationships. It's about coming alongside people who are professionals and specialists in what they do, and working collaboratively with administration, citizens, and business partners to successfully address our challenges that our community face is a collaborative process. The role of mayor is not about having all the right answers. It's about trusting the process of democracy. It's about being a voice for the citizens. It's about advocacy and research and asking the effective questions and being an active listener. Serving in public office is about being an effective communicator and about learning and adapting to new information and making informed decisions. Legendary and inspiring football coach Vince Lombardi was valued by his colleagues for his adaptability and his visionary leadership in the face of new challenges. He can be quoted to say, "If you don't know what the end result is supposed to look like, you can't get there." I believe that Hinton does know what the end result is supposed to look like. What do I want to accomplish as mayor of Hinton? To serve my community, to contribute to the vision of transparent communication between administration, council, and citizens, and to honor the process of informed decision-making for the benefit of our collective good. I recognize that there will be obstacles in this journey, and how council and administration and stakeholders communicate those shared goals will be telltale of our success. I believe that we as citizens do know what our end goal is for Hinton: to be a healthy, culturally vibrant community that is socially and environmentally responsible, that is economically prosperous, and well-governed. I believe we are well on our way toward that vision in Hinton. I believe that we have the capacity to build strong relationships. I believe that our businesses and community and regional partners and federal and provincial partners will be on that journey with us together as we move forward as a community. Being an effective agent for change means that you must adapt to new information and ask the right questions and have the courage to be creative, the courage to look beyond our present circumstances and in toward the future, toward our end goal. As mayoral candidate, I want to know what you value. I want to understand what you want for the best interest of your family. Thank you.
Thanks, Benita. Now on to the council candidates. First up, Ryan Magoon.
Good evening, everyone. Please let me just say thanks first for coming out this evening. My name is Ryan Magoon, and for the better part of 36 years, I've called Hinton my home. Since 2012, it's been my absolute pleasure, honor, and responsibility to be a councillor for the town of Hinton. Hinton's my hometown. I look around the room and I see friends, neighbors, folks I've grown up with, and even some folks who helped me grow up a little bit. And I believe that whoever is here, up here, is responsible to you first. For 4 years, I've made it my mission to represent the will of the people, to be your voice on council. This job isn't about me, and it shouldn't be about any of us. It's about you. I think a good councillor is going to spend a lot more time asking you what you need and what you want, as opposed to only telling you how I think things should be. Now, if I don't inform my opinions on council with the goals of the majority of the people in this room, then I don't understand democracy. And I've always been wary of politicians that say, I, and me. Obviously, those words come into play when we're talking, but I think you get the idea. You matter. Your family matters and your voice matters. This job isn't just hot air. 4 years ago, I came before you and said a few things that were very important to the people whom I was speaking with. People said it'd be great to finally see that population sign flip over to 10,000, and here we are. We've made positive economic gains to bylaw and town practices that have made, not only the changes that we've seen during a recession happen, but we also have one of the lowest tax rates in our region while providing high quality services. And that's exhaustive, that's difficult. We've overseen some incredible efficiency building in the town administration. And people have talked to me about the importance of building a safety department through our fire department training center that we can use as a tool to not only help ourselves, but help surrounding communities. And I've championed that for you. And here we are, 4 years later, with the ability to take an untrained person off the street and turn them into a trained firefighter. We are one of the few communities outside of a city in the province that can actually do that. But again, that's thanks to you. That's thanks to your vision, not mine. Again, that's taking your ideas and your visions forward. But in spite of these successes, we still have a lot of good work to do. But the first thing we have to do is take politics out of municipal government. It has no place up here. So what I think we need to do, we need to start solving issues like seniors housing, being mindful of taxes, and continuing to grow business and industry. For the past 4 years, I've worked on council for you in order to ensure that your voice is heard. And I'm humbly asking you for another 4 years to make sure that I carry on with the qualities and principles of experienced leadership, making sure that your will is carried on. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope you enjoy tonight.
Thanks, Ryan. Alan Steinman.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Al Steinman. I've been a resident of Hinton for the last 35 years. 33 years of those working for the town and serving the community. I think I bring a unique background to the position of council in that I've seen from the front end the work that the town provides, the services that we provide. I know the things that we do well and the things that we might need to improve to provide better service to the community. Some of my basic platform, for those of you who are interested, I'm concerned about the aging infrastructure in our community. We have some infrastructure that dates back to the 1970s. I would like to see a concrete plan in when and how we're going to afford to replace that infrastructure. In saying that, I'm not adverse to new projects, but we have to get that balance between the needs of the aging infrastructure and new projects that we take on. Any new projects that we take on as a town, they must be affordable, they must be sustainable. We must be able to maintain those things. We aren't in a position where we can build something just because there's provincial grant money or there's federal grant money to build something and not be able to sustain it with our usage, sustain it with our staff without huge increases. One of the other concerns I have is, some of you may have noticed, I'm not 20 years old anymore. So, I'm concerned with the lack of affordable and senior-friendly housing in this community, and for that matter, starter-level homes for young families who'd like to move to Hinton and can't find accommodations for less than $300 and some odd thousand. This needs to be addressed. Maybe possibly we need to work with developers to get more modest structures rather than the $500,000, $600,000 homes that are being built in some areas. Council has to address issues for the socially vulnerable sectors of our population. I've had meetings with Evergreens Foundation. I've got a meeting with Yvonne O'Shannock down at the Friendship Center to fill in some of the gaps in my knowledge. I will always take as my direction the voters. You're the people that will elect me, hopefully, and you're the people that I will listen to. I think anybody in this room that knows me knows I'm eminently approachable, willing to listen to people. One of the things I'm going to mention that may cost me some votes, unfortunately, because it's not a very popular issue, we have to be prepared that we may have to make some small
cliffhanger.
Wasn't watching the live.
Council candidate Joanne Race.
Thank you, Brad. I have to say, I've never been so scared in my whole life. Looking at you, I'm looking at Hinton and seeing some wonderful smiles, so just bear with me. I too have been I've lived here a long time, almost 4 decades I've been here. Chris and I raised 4 of the best kids ever in Hinton, and they still come home today. I'm going to use this word "I" a lot, and hopefully after tonight I won't use it again. I've been a working mom, just like you guys. I work away from my kids. I worked 18 years at the mines, and then I was 12 years having my own business. I was that first aid lady in town. I've sat on several committees. I've sat on CIAC committee, I've sat on the policing committee, I was on the grant funding committee, I love that committee. I brought Kick It to the Curb to town. I brought the dog poop stations to town. Then I was not called that first aid lady anymore, I was called that poop lady. But I just want to say to you, Kick It to the Curb and the dog sanitation stations, they were a community effort. I'll tell you, you guys helped me raise the money, you put your money into that. I had the idea, and together the town, the community, we made it happen. So it's not just me. Another thing that I'm proud of is Election of 7. Election of 7 is a Facebook page. I'm no longer the administrator. It took information from council and it brought it to you guys. You saw what the agenda was, you saw what council would be talking about, and then we also told you the results of that meeting. Something I'd like to talk to you about are some of the concerns that I have going into this election. Other people have talked about it. Senior housing is very, very important, you guys. In 8 short years, and I'll tell you, they'll go by quick. In 8 short years, 25% of the population in Alberta is over the age of 65. So we have to start looking today, where are we going to put these people? I don't want your mom and dad to have to leave town. I don't want your grandma and grandpa to have to leave town. We have to start looking now at where we're putting these people. Affordable housing is so important. Another thing, that rec center, I don't know if it's on your mind, but it's on my mind, and we've got to get that one right. We truly do. We've got to get the family change rooms in there. We have to make it where it's accessible to everybody to get into that pool. Another thing that's on my mind is no way.
Thank you. Council candidate Tyler Waugh.
Hi everyone. I'd like to thank the organizers, my fellow candidates, residents who've come out tonight. I moved to Hinton in spring 2004 as a single guy. And 13 years later, I'm now a family man, a homeowner, and a proud owner of a small business. I'm proud to call this community home. I feel the work done by our community, everyone from government to business to our vital nonprofit sector, has set us up for success moving forward. This incoming council is inheriting one of the lowest tax rates for towns our size in Alberta. Our town has worked hard to revise and update a number of policies and plans. All of them as important to our future as they are boring to talk about. These things, with the right leadership, will help grow our community. And to me, growth means more residents, more jobs, and an expanded tax base. And an expanded tax base means new tax revenue to help take the burden off those of us who are already paying the taxes. Growth means more families to me. And to attract and retain families, I think we need to continue to address the quality of our indoor facilities. It's why I support ongoing efforts to plan and cost out a new pool facility to see what is possible and to do it well. But attracting families means little if we cannot show some creativity in finding a way to keep our seniors here in Hinton and keep them cared for. We need to continue to work with other levels of government and private partners to get our seniors what they need. And that can be anything from long-term care beds or the right kind of roofs over their heads. We need to show more resolve in moving affordable housing projects along and to addressing homelessness. And as a council, I think we always need to keep in mind, no matter what the topic, what's best for Hinton as a whole in our decision making. I've been lucky to volunteer with some great people through the years: the Hinton United Way, the Terry Fox Run, with the Chamber, and as part of the Citizens Advisory Group for the 30-year vision. As a journalist, I've covered council for the better part of 12 years. I have a good understanding of how council is supposed to work, and I have a deep respect for an inclusive decision-making process. I'm a dedicated volunteer, a community-minded small business owner, and I'm ready to step up and serve in a different capacity to keep this community moving forward. That's why I ask you to vote for me. And yep, oh, you know when.
Thanks, Tyler. Council candidate Dooley Nelson.
Thanks to everyone here for being part of the solution. From a very young age, I was taught the Rotary motto, service above self. My decision to run for council was truly that. It would have been easy to simply operate my business, raise my young family, and not be involved. I volunteer extensively. My business has donated tens of thousands of dollars to Hinton's nonprofits and events. I'm a coach, I'm a dance dad. I have sat at the Chamber Board both as a board member and president. I'm a Rotarian. I am currently on multiple committees. I believe the next step in serving Hinton is representing you on town council. I bring a strong, positive voice coupled with an unmatched work ethic. I treat everyone with respect and embrace their ideas. I'm a natural leader and will help bring this community together. I believe in transparency through accessibility. Transparency only works if one is accessible. Whether through coffee sessions, social media, traditional media, or just passing in the grocery store, I will always take the time to listen. I will be accessible when council is celebrating achievements. I will also be accessible when council makes a less popular decision. I will take the information that I learn from our citizens and use it to provide guidance. I want to see the next group of elected officials provide ideas and strategies rather than every move being spoon-fed from administration. The people that you elect should be the ones who set the tone for your community. We as a community create the vision. I hope to demonstrate tonight that I'm well versed in many key topics in our community. I plan to speak in specifics and not generalizations. Through extensive collaboration with community leaders and citizens, I have a solid grasp of Hinton yesterday, Hinton today, and Hinton tomorrow. I look forward to hearing my fellow candidates' ideas and strategies to ensure Hinton realizes its potential. I hope that in 3 weeks, Hinton has elected a positive, collaborative, and action-oriented team. I believe Hinton is a destination, not a gateway. We're a destination for families, we're a destination for industry, we're a destination for tourism, and Hinton is a destination for innovation. I look forward to serving you both now and into the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Council candidate Dawn Harrison.
Thank you very much, Brad, and good evening to all. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight, and also to the Hinton Chamber of Commerce, the Yellowhead Labour Council, and the Hinton Voice as to what I think is a very important event in the democratic process, the Candidates Forum. You, the constituents, have the opportunity to hear what the political stances are for each candidate running for the position of Hinton Town Council. I have been commonly asked, why have I decided to run for the position of Hinton Town Councillor? Particularly in these times of pressing budgets, residents wanting more service and programs, while holding tax or user fee increases to a minimum, and the list goes on. Well, Hinton has a very bright future, and I want to be part of that, and to represent and serve you so we can ensure the sustainability of our community. My 37 years experience in provincial government, and 8 years of running my own consulting business, 6 years, 2 terms on municipal council holding the positions of mayor and council, as well as a member and chairs of many local boards, national, international boards, and committees, certainly give me the required background and leadership skills, not to mention that I'm retired, so I'll have the time and flexibility to represent you and undertake tasks and challenges that lie ahead for our community. And yes, there are going to be many challenges: diminishing budgets, maintaining core services, water, sewer, roads, and not to mention the large projects that are coming to the community, and of course holding the line on taxes. These are all sensitive issues to you as well as me. So when working with my colleagues, I commit to the following: having an open door policy where every person, young, old, business, living or working in our community, will have access to me to bring their ideas forward. Ensure that openness, transparency, and consultation is maintained and enhanced with our constituents. Having discussions with our Hinton health professionals as to what additional programs and services we can bring to Hinton. Ensure that long-term recreation strategies are implemented in a fiscally responsible way to ensure that any facilities are sustainable into the future. Work with and advocate for the seniors in our community and address any concerns they have. Promote an active Chamber of Commerce, ensuring that there is a business environment which is conducive for existing businesses to expand and new business to invest in Hinton. I've been asked many times about the potential of tax increases. I can't make any promises I will not be able to keep, but I do promise that I will work diligently to ensure we are getting the value for our taxes, and any increases will be thoroughly scrutinized, ensuring that our musts are met and our wants reviewed to ensure viability and sustainability of our community. I thank you, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thanks, Don. Finally, Albert Ostashik, council candidate.
Good evening. First, thank you to everyone who's volunteered their time and resources to host this event, and a special thank you to you, our citizens, for taking time out of your day to attend and participate in this important event leading up to our municipal election. 45 years ago, I was born at Hinton General Hospital, and though I technically lived in Brule throughout my childhood, I've always called Hinton home. Hinton was where we did our shopping, where I socialized and spent a lot of my time. I attended school in Hinton too, from kindergarten all the way through high school graduation. After high school, I went on to study business administration at Red Deer College. In my early 20s, I moved back to Hinton, where I've lived ever since. I met my wife Cindy here, and we raised our 2 children here. I was elected to council in our by-election last July, and I have enjoyed my time on council since then. We've done some good work during that time, but I feel there's more that we need to do to make Hinton the outstanding community that it can be. Whether you're talking about economic development, social evolution, or physical growth, everything is connected. If we can retain our seniors with the care facilities that they require, retain our young adults with expanded educational programs, and retain our families with a strong, stable economy offering good, reliable jobs, we will see responsible, sustainable population growth. The growing population will spur economic growth, filling Hinton's shopping districts with new stores, and will prompt new construction to house both our growing population and our new businesses. The increased tax base will help support the construction and maintenance of our municipal facilities. My reasons for running for council last summer and my reasons for running for re-election now have not changed. Those reasons were and still are based on the fact that I have lived my whole life here. I have seen our town sit more or less stagnant for the last 30 years, while our neighbors around us have been able to evolve and offer their citizens a wider selection in housing options, more selection in shopping, better prices for basic goods, and all the other benefits that come to a thriving community. Hinton has so much potential, and it's been frustrating to see that potential not being realized for so long now, but that's something that I hope to be able to help change over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Albert. Okay, so we're going to move into a series of 3 predetermined questions, and just so that everyone understands where these questions came from, we had a small group meet at about 5:30 today, and we tried to highlight 3 issues that we felt, the bulk of the people here would want to hear about. So if you don't like the questions, you can take it out on the committee members. They were Greg Hall, Brian Lavarge, Linda Johnson, Bill McDonald, Rob Mackin, Karen Clute, and Glenn Barrow. So we felt like we had a good cross-section of people from the community, and we have 3 questions that we're going to kick this evening off with. Followed by that, there's going to be an opportunity for questions from the floor. If you haven't already been approached by Natalie from the chamber, she's passing out numbers, and we will very scientifically draw the people's numbers to ask a question. So the first question, and this is going to firstly Mayor Candidate Benita Smith, explain what Hinton looks like. Sorry. Everyone will get a chance at this question, so this is going down the line. Explain what Hinton looks like to you in 15 years. What will you do over the course of the next 4 years to achieve that vision if you're elected?
Thank you. Hinton in the next 15 years is socially prosperous, economically responsible, and growing. I see a community that is invested in small business and that we have grassroots ideas that have come to full fruition by then, that we have a healthy economy, and we have citizens who are really enjoying our outdoor playground, and tourism is alive, and our industries are thriving. I have that vision for Hinton, and I believe that we can work together to ensure that our environment and our economy and our people are well cared for, and that that's about it. Thank you. Sorry.
Stuart Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. My vision for the community is to see business expansion and financial stability that results in a vibrant and expanded services. We get this by creating the right environment, the Hinton advantage I call it. And that's a competitive tax structure in relation to surrounding communities, and a continued business-friendly staff and regulations. Create the right environment and they'll come. We want regional businesses to choose Hinton as a preferred location. The resulting tax base will allow us to continue to fix our aging infrastructure. A decade from now, we could have an enhanced swimming pool, 50% paid for, better housing that could include an adult seniors complex. And if we all put our butts in the seats, we could have a successful performing arts and movie venue. Hinton will be a terrific community, and we'll have, in 15 years, a great oil, gas, forestry, and a mature tourism industry.
Thanks, Stuart. Mayoral candidate Marcel Michaels.
15 years from now, I want to see the 3 key areas all on the same page. It's business, it's families, and it's seniors. Sometimes we have councils who focus on one specific things. The last 4 years, we've listened to the business community. We made it easier. The culture's changed. So 15 years from now, we have big issues like labor and housing and seniors. Where do we put them? But they all work together. Sometimes we focus just on one. We have to put all 3 together that they work. Business people want amenities here. Seniors want amenities here for their children, their grandchildren. We have to have a big outlook. We need a strategic plan for all 3 that will work together for specific goals on how we establish that. So basically, the whole overview is I want to say Hinton is our amazing town. And I want people in Jasper to say, we're lucky to have Hinton, because usually it's the other way around. But we have great community people in our town, and 15 years from now, with the right plan, we will do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. We'll move now to council candidates. First to speak to this question is Alan Steinman.
Okay, I'm going to have a tough time getting it down to 1 minute, but I'll do the best I can with it. Okay, the things that I'd like to see in Hinton in the near future is I'd like to see industry and businesses attracted to our community. We have a lot to offer. We need to make it that people know about these things. With that will come sustainable growth. We need our housing needs met for all levels, whether it's entry-level housing for young families or seniors housing and care levels that they need. I want people in the province to view Hinton as a destination. I want them to see Hinton through my eyes. I love this community, and I want everybody to love it as much as I do. That's about all I have to say. Actually, short for a change.
Thanks, Alan. Dewey Nelson.
Hinton in 15 years has a population of 12,500. We'll start small. Its moniker has changed from Gateway to the Rockies to Alberta's work-life capital. We're a destination for specialized education programs and have become the center of innovation. Hinton is on the map. Our seniors facilities not only house our seniors, but we've become a relocation destination for seniors across the province because of our natural setting. In the next 4 years, I will champion a DMF, which will provide funding to build province-level events. It will create Hinton as a destination. It will come at no taxpayer's expense. Thank you.
Thanks, Dewey. Tyler Waugh.
My Hinton in 15 years has a population sign that says 10,000 plus, similar to Dooley. Thanks, Dooley. It will have adequate facilities to address the continuum of care for seniors, and we will have a few years into a new pool. We're going to get this done through strategic investment, some really smart fiscal planning, and we've got to continue to build strong relationships at all levels of government and with the private sector.
Thanks, Tyler. Albert Ostashik.
In 15 years, I expect to see a community that has surpassed the 10,000 mark. Reasonable, sustainable growth in both residents and businesses. I expect to see a community that looks after all of its members, young, old, those with special needs, and everybody in between. I want to make sure, though, that while we grow, we retain our identity as a close-knit community, and that growth does not adversely affect the natural environment that we so enjoy and our tourists enjoy every day. I want to see expanded education opportunities for our young adults, and above all, I want to make sure that anyone who wants to move here can, and anyone who wants to stay here can as well.
Thank you, Albert. Ryan Magoon.
On the note of population, administration gave us this lovely graph, and over the next 50 years, it said the population of Hinton is going to be this straight line. I'm not one to argue for the sake of arguing, but I don't accept that. That's not good enough. As an assistant principal, when I have a student who has a grade and they want to increase it, I don't just say, well, for the last 8 years you've gotten this, so there's no hope for you. I don't buy that. I don't think that's good enough. We have a community that deserves to flourish, and I think councils and subsequent councils are going to work to improve our industry, our tax base, those services that we all enjoy, to make sure that they're high quality, effective, and efficient, and just to make sure that this is a place where we want to stay when we retire, to have the services that we need when we grow old. That's my hint. A place where I can stay, a place where you can live, and a place that we all love. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Don Harrison.
Okay, thank you very much, Brad. Hinton in 15 years, I refer to the community sustainability pyramid, which is people, progress, and prosperity. And I'd certainly work with the chamber, industry partners, and the residents to maintain a balance and achieve a balance between industry and the residential tax base. We need affordable housing for young families and also our aging population. And I would certainly work and advocate for industry with the chamber, and we'd maintain a tax structure that invites both opportunity for existing businesses and businesses who wish to invest in Hinton.
Thanks, Don. And Joanne Race.
Thank you. In 15 years, I can envision our rec center done, with us owing not a lot of money on that. I can also see housing for seniors. We have more Lions Manors available to us. I can also see a training center so our kids don't have to leave town to go to school to take a trade. We offer that training here in town. I can see a completed expansion for Pine Valley. I can see that in 3 years, but I really want to see it in 15. I can see dialysis at our hospital. I can also, I want to see Hinton the hub again. And you know what I'd really like to see? In 15 years, I'll be 81 years old, and I want to see my name on that ballot. I'm a counselor, and in 15 years, you will trust me to do it again. And I think my minute should just about be up.
Thanks, Joanne. Okay, on to question number 2. This one will go to Stuart Taylor first. And the question is, what actions are required for the town of Hinton to ensure seniors are able to stay in Hinton And what ideas do you have to benefit the aging population? Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. First, I think we need to think aggressively when it comes to seniors housing. We need to think in terms of a 40 to 70 unit project where we develop an incentive-based approach that's market-driven and put up for a request for tenders. So I'm talking about, tax incentives, not direct subsidies, but delaying some of the fees. Another issue we need is a vibrant senior center located with good parking. That's an issue we need to keep in the back of our minds. That seems to crop up from time to time. And when opportunities arrive with underutilized facilities, we need to look for that. We need to support the current priority for the Pine Valley at the Evergreen Center. It's at priority 1, so it's standing next in line.
Thanks, Stuart. Marcel Michaels.
Thank you. Really, it's going to be a two-parter. As mayor, you're responsible for selecting committees. We need a committee with all the players at the table to say, what is our strategy? We keep throwing darts at a dartboard without really focusing on one key issue. So as mayor, you have that responsibility to pick other councils and yourself to make that board. Let's get on the same page and listen, right? The old adage, you have 2 ears and only one mouth. It's true. I'm not a pro at it, but we have to sit at the table with the right people. The second part is provincially. It's a provincial legislation. As mayor, who do you want up there to talk to the other levels of government? The Alberta Health Services. You have to be in constant contact. You have to talk to the other mayors, your other councillors. You have to talk to the people in the facilities. That's the job of a mayor. So those are the two first things I'm going to do. Let's get on the same page and make it work. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. And Benita Smith.
Thank you. The first thing that I will do is collaborative engagement. Engaging with citizens and with community members, asking them what they envision for their future, where they would like to live, and doing a concrete needs assessment, collaborating with Alberta Health Services, seeing where some of the demands are in where they see some of the trends in our community, what kind of the needs we have for our seniors heading into the next 15 years. Making sure that our decisions are going to be fiscally responsible and that we can potentially attract people who are willing to invest, from private investors to potentially even international investors, because return on investment we know is going to be there, that housing is something that will last a long time and we can continue to build on that. It's not something that's going to go away. We will fill them. We will always have a need for housing. So collaborative engagement is the first step for me.
Thank you, Benita. Now to council candidates, starting with Albert Ostashik.
First thing we need to do to develop some independent seniors living facilities is to work with our local developers and contractors to get those types of facilities online and available. And if that means offering some types of incentives like deferred taxes, then so be it. Whatever we need to do to help those things move along is what we're going to have to do. As far as seniors care in our community, we're going to have to continue to lobby the provincial government, and I think probably lobby them harder than we have historically. We need to get them out here and show them our facilities and show them the need that we have, show them the waiting lists, show them that these facilities are not being used to their utmost capacity. Make sure that they realize that Hinton has a very real need for seniors care, and stay on them to make sure that they respond to our needs.
Thanks, Albert. Don Harrison.
Thank you. What actions are needed for seniors to stay in Hinton? Affordable housing and adequately staffed facilities. I've been hearing in my walkabouts that there are facilities that are vacant, but the expense is too much. So we need to have affordable housing, affordable facilities, and have proper staff at these facilities. Advocate the government to get going. This has been going on for some time now. I understand that this discussion took place 4 years ago at this same kind of forum, and here we are 4 years later with nothing done. So we need to actively lobby the government, and whatever that takes. Dialogue and consultation with the group's developers, and sit down and actually have a focus session on what it's going to take to build this kind of housing and these facilities within our community.
Thanks, Don. Joanne Race.
Thank you. A big thing we have to look at is aging in place and make sure that everybody knows the benefits that are out there for them. People need to know how good FCSS is, what they can do for our community. Another thing is we have to make sure we have the home care people available and trained to help people at home, people who are living in the facilities. We have to have those people trained. Another thing is we've got to support Evergreen. We truly have to support Evergreen. They're the ones who are talking to the government, getting us these the monies to build these facilities. Another thing, you guys, we really have to talk to the seniors and make sure that we're covering their needs. It's their needs that are so important. I think it's very important that we work with the contractors. And another thing I want to talk to you about really, really quickly. Private care for, darn.
Thanks, Joanne. Ryan Magoon.
Thanks, Brad. First of all, we have to make sure that whatever solutions we have in place are affordable for our seniors and it meets their needs. It's what they want. We have to talk to them. We have to find out what they need. Secondly, we need to work collaboratively with both the Evergreens Foundation and the provincial government. Council has to be in constant positive contact in order to advocate for us as a community. Nothing's going to happen if we don't have a council and a mayor who can work with all those partners. The next thing that has to happen is council has to have the political will to make sure that the development incentives are there to pull in private industry. We have to make it absolutely ridiculous for some private supplier of service to go anywhere else but Hinton. But that comes down to political will, and I think we need this, and this is one of those areas where we will do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Dooley Nelson.
I won't sit up here and tell you that I can solve Hinton seniors' housing issues. Any program that requires collaboration between the municipality, AHS, Evergreens, and the provincial government is likely something beyond the role of councillor and will sit on the mayor's desk. That said, I have a few ideas that could help with seniors and affordable housing. Number one, work with Happy Creek to build out the last sixplex. The utilities are all there, it just needs to be connected. The Rowan Street Recycling Center and the parcel to its north are both town-owned and under direct control. The required infrastructure and services are all there. It would mean losing some land for potential commercial development, but I believe that with the vacancy rate, we can afford that. Engage Anthem Properties to start a conversation about a tower behind the mall. They have many towers in their portfolio and they own that land. And revisit the Pine Valley expansion to ensure that it still meets the needs of our community. I believe even with Pine Valley's expansion, we will still have a shortage of beds. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Tyler Waugh.
We will need to get creative if we're going to find some solutions that will keep seniors here in an affordable manner. Some of the options include dealing with some private entities who specialize in seniors developments, and they have a variety of options that allow people to age in place. I think we need to engage them a little more. And this is important because if you put it into perspective, more than 1/3 of Hinton's population is 55 years or older, so we do need to increase the options. I think there's already been a fair bit of collaboration and input that was part of the integrated housing strategy in 2013, and we could possibly incentivize with some local developers to create some affordable units. On the larger level, we will need to collaborate more with government and Evergreens to keep extended care and to get long-term care beds back in Hinton. I think that's a priority.
Thanks, Tyler. And Al Steinman.
I'd like to touch on something else that we don't have in this community. We don't have seniors-friendly, own your own or rent a home on a single level, no stairs, slab build at a reasonable price that a senior or a senior and their spouse can move into at the same price that they may sell their older home for, or maybe even a little bit less expensive than what they're selling their older home. I think a lot of the seniors would like to see that type of housing, so they're still reasonably independent, and of course, with the long-term care and continuing care available as an option when you can no longer live in your own home. But having a two-story home doesn't make it as a senior.
Thanks, Al. Question number 3 from the Citizen Committee. Does the town, and this is directed at Marcel Michaels first, does the town of Hinton currently need a new rec center? Yes or no, and why?
Can I get upset at the people who ask the questions?
Welcome.
No, but scale and timing is the key issue. We can only look at grand cash and understand that we have to build the appropriate pool. Our pool isn't very young, so at some point we do need a new pool. The timing will be everything. My bigger concern is to reassure you that I don't want to build a new pool and put us in jeopardy. We have to tie this in. In November, administration is coming back to council with a 15-year capital infrastructure plan. I can't make a decision on the pool without looking at what we're going to spend on sewers and sidewalks for the next 15 years. I'm going to put both things together and understand, okay, this is the type of pool we can afford that goes hand in hand with our infrastructure and make a sound, intelligent decision then. But I do want a pool, but I won't do it at all costs. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. Stuart Taylor.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of support for a $62 million facility. We can't afford that anyway, so it's not really a question that we should be asking. What we need to do with the at least the ice arenas and a lot of the rec center is to increase the utilization. Increase the utilization by looking at programming and innovative programs and that sort of thing. What I have heard is support for a swimming pool. And of course, you all know, I think by now, that if I was to, my thought on that would be to get that approved through a plebiscite. My thought on that also would be that we have to look at the existing infrastructure that we have to time it and fund it appropriately and make sure that we take care of our water treatment, our aging infrastructure, and those things, and fit the pool into it and have a reasonable proportion of the cash up front before we start the build. Thanks.
Thanks, Stuart. And Benita Smith.
Thank you. I am in favor of building capacity within our current programming to ensure that our facilities, our pools, our rock walls, our courts, arenas are used to their maximum opportunity every single day. Current council has put forward the $100,000, up to $100,000, to review the feasibility of a new pool, to explore the options of the existing pool. This process is already in motion. Citizen engagement is going to be the next step, and it needs to be purposeful and it needs to be timely. Current pools facility has projected lifespan, and citizens rely on this service for daily exercise, social activity, and recreation. Families, schools, youth, seniors, and adults alike should have access to an aquatic facility that serves their needs. Should a needs assessment determine that our current aquatic facility does not meet the needs of our community, or people who use it or would use it, then I would support an administrative decision and the council's decision to move forward to explore the possibility of a fiscally responsible framework. Thank you.
Thanks, Benita. Now to council candidates, starting with Joanne Race.
You know, this is such an important thing. It really is. It's going to touch every one of the people in town. I do think we need a new rec center. We need one, but we don't need one today. Right now, current council or the town is working on a 10-year strategic plan, and it seems to be moving ahead quite quickly. Tomorrow night, I think they might be discussing the concept one. I don't even know what concept one is, but I do know for us to go ahead, we need so much community involvement. You guys have to have such a big say in this rec center because we are all paying for it. We truly are. We've got to make sure that all the needs of everybody in town are covered. We have to have that change room. We got to get this one right. We truly do. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Tyler Watt.
As I said in my opening comments, I do feel that a pool is a priority. I am definitely not as sold on other components of the rec center being a priority within the next 10, 15 years. But I agree with much of what other people have said. While the pool is a first priority, and I do think it needs to be done, you can't say the when and the how and decide on that until you have more information in front of you. And that will be forthcoming fairly soon. And I think you need a detailed vision for the programming and the operating costs before you can think of moving forward at all. And I would like to say, though, I think the next council in the next 4 years, I would like to see a well-communicated timeline for how things are going to progress and a publicly driven vision. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. Al Steinman.
Along with most people, I'm not sold on a $62 million rec center. I don't think we can afford it. I don't think it's what we need as a rec complex at this time for a town of 10,000. A pool, because of its usage, I'm all for it, providing it is sustainable. The community will use it, and it meets the community's needs at an affordable price. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Albert Ostache.
Our rec center is aging and it will need to be upgraded at some point in the near future. This is something that's come back to council again and again from our citizens saying that this is something that's important to them. Doing the preliminary work now, initial costing and coming up with some plans and projected operating budgets is the right way to do it. It allows us to phase construction for times when it's appropriate. But above all, when this facility is upgraded, renovated, it needs to be appropriate for the community and the size that it is, plus appropriate to the community's projected size for the expected life of the facility. So we're not coming back in 5 years and renovating it again. And it also needs to be affordable. We cannot burden ourselves with increased tax rates for the next 30, 40 years to pay for it.
Thanks, Albert. Dooley Nelson.
I believe that Hinton needs to replace its swimming pool. The most viable solution is to build a new pool and repurpose the old pool into an income-generating space. This option also means that the pool would not have to be closed for an extended period of time. I don't believe our pool needs to be mind-blowing. We need a simple, updated pool that covers off all of our needs, and if the budget can handle it, a couple of our wants. It needs to be handicap accessible, including the change rooms. It needs a toddler pool, it needs a hot tub, it needs lanes long enough to host a swim meet. We need to ensure that whatever pool is built, we keep staff and operational costs in mind. Ballooning operation costs would result in the world's greatest swimming pool being open from 12 to 2 on Saturdays. We can't have that. As to the repurpose of the existing pool, I believe a fitness facility is a natural fit and would offer some cost recovery to the town. I would love to see studio rooms with things like gymnastics, boxing, and yoga in mind. This would provide opportunities for Hinton's clubs to have a suitable long-term space. Thanks.
Thanks, Dooley. John Harrison.
Thanks, Brad. A pretty black and white question. I think the question was, does the town of Hinton need a new rec center? Yes or no? And I'm going to answer pretty black and white, not at this time. I believe the citizens have said that there is a need for it, but there is a need for much more work that needs to be done on costing, business case analysis, and a presentation to the community. I believe that we can upgrade the utilization. I was down to the arena on the weekend, and there's ice that's sitting with nobody using it. And coming from other municipalities, there's lots of places that would love to have 2 arenas because they can't get enough ice time. So I think programming, utilization, we need to look at that.
Thanks, Don. And finally, Ryan Magoon.
Well, this last go around with the plan for the rec center, the new rec center that came before council, was a lot like shopping for a camper with my wife. We walked in, we looked at a beautiful plan. I said, "Oh, this is lovely," and immediately my wife sitting over there would say, "No, that's too much." And that's exactly where we are. The first plan that we got back was too much. We can't afford a $77 million pool and rec center right now. Try using some common sense. We do need a rec center, and we'll need to replace the rec center. That's just logic. But let's do it in stages at the right time and priced out to what's moderate and reasonable for our needs and ability to sustain. We don't need to get crazy with $70 million, but let's be smart with how we use our money. But let's have the service. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, we've worked through the predetermined questions, and now, how's everyone doing? Good? Carry on, we'll start taking some questions from the floor. Okay, I need to make a draw. Oh. 50-50 ticket. 384695. And what I 695. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the next number so that we can kind of keep this moving in some sort of fair fashion.
Right here.
How many tickets did you take? 698 is also going to be next. Okay?
Okay.
Your name?
Johan Basbach.
Quick question.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is a copy of Hinton's Community Sustainability Plan. Could each of you please give a short description of what you know about this plan and how it should be used? Thanks.
Beginning with mayors, and this is Stuart Taylor. You guys switch seats. You're confusing me.
We did. The community sustainability plan is an all-encompassing list of a large number of points that cover everything in our town, from social, recreation, and anything that's going to make this town sustainable. So it covers the A to Z of running the town. That's used as a guide in every decision that council makes. And I think one of the first steps for the new council is to sit down with everything they've learned in the election, make a strategic plan, and consult with the community sustainability plan, and make sure that when we come up with our 1, 2, 3, 4 year priorities, that it's consistent with some of those things that we need to get done. It's used as a general guide in all our decisions and in the strategic plan that at least we made on the last council when we first got elected.
Thanks, Stuart. Marcel Michaels.
This plan was put together by so many minds in our town. Time and effort went into this. There are things that encompass it, from the smallest things to the biggest things, whether it's our a park along our Athabasca River. The important thing for this document is a lot of politicians don't believe in it. Seriously, I'm somebody who, if you put time and effort and you listen, and I ask from you, what do you want? I take that document to heart. It means something, because those are people who are not elected, they're not paid, they're not doing anything. They actually put information in there that they care about. And some people don't want to listen to it. Don't take my word for it. The last 4 years, it's been a controversy, but I believe in that. That's exactly what Hinton wants is in that document, and I'm going to continue to follow it and listen to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. And Benita Smith.
Thank you for the question. The Community Sustainability Plan is an overarching document that guides the framework of how our community will grow and how we will change and adapt to new circumstances. It's a framework that speaks about economic development. It speaks about growth, progressive collaboration with regional partners, with inter-municipal partners. It speaks about a framework about how we will be socially responsible and how our community will respond to the changing climates of pressures from changes in our environment, from changes with and pressures from, for example, the pine beetle, or new thoughts or new ideas about geothermal and how we potentially could access and tap into new ways of sustaining our community. This is the framework and the overarching document that informs the decisions that council and administration make, and how we interact with citizens is how we make those decisions at the community council level. And that's what the document is about.
Thanks, Benita. Now to council candidates. Dooley Nelson.
Thanks. CSV talks about Hinton in 2040, so we've partially addressed that already. There's a website set up for it. I believe it doesn't have a lot of teeth, to be honest. If it had teeth, we wouldn't be opening another coal mine. But in my belief, we need jobs first. So let's do the coal mine. Let's also explore other opportunities to diversify our economy. I think most of the people in this room probably aren't that familiar with it. We need something that's more streamlined and more specific that we can actually all believe in as a community, not just the people who created the document. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Al Steineman.
Well, this is going to be really short because my understanding of the CSP is rather limited. I mean, in broad terms, it's guidelines for growth and how we'd like to see our community grow. And unfortunately, I'm afraid I'm going to have to dig into it in far more depth should I be elected. My apologies.
Thanks, Al. Tyler Watt.
The community sustainability plan, I have some knowledge about it. I was on the citizens advisory group that helped create it. And it was a collaborative process, Dooley, so it was created by the citizens for the citizens. But with that said, it's a living document. It's overarching, and Dooley, in many respects, was right in saying that it didn't have a lot of teeth. Some of the aspects of it were qualitative, some of them were quantitative. 5 pillars of sustainability. It was a reflection of the priorities at the time, but it has to be a living document. It has to keep being reassessed to reflect the new realities that we face as a community.
Thanks, Tyler. Ryan Magoon.
Thanks. Yeah, the CSP as a document, it's both good and bad. Just to throw it out there. First of all, it's good in that it comes from the people. It's the voice of the people. It's bad because I don't think it gets visited enough. Just like Tyler said, I fully agree with that. It needs to be a living document, and I don't think it's living enough right now. It doesn't get the air it needs. Some of the principles that we look at in there may be outdated over time. We have to keep going back to it to make sure that it reflects the will of the people. So it needs to be updated. It needs to be looked at consistently and constantly, not just created and then, it was made, it's going to reflect all of our values from now to 2040. That doesn't even make sense. So let's have a look at it and let's make sure it represents what we need. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Albert Stashik.
So as has been said, the Community Sustainability Plan outlines vision for Hinton in 2040. It was developed by a group of citizens, and it took over a year to develop the community, the CSP, and out of that came a group called CEAC, the Community Engagement Accountability Committee, and CEAC still continues to exist, and CEAC exists today precisely because this is a living document. This living document helps guide council as council makes decisions, but CEAC's role is to ensure that they are holding council accountable for what that CSP holds. And I think it's important that CEAC continues to have that role moving into the future, and that's something that council should be revisiting every year at their strategic planning session to make sure that those things are being adhered to.
Thanks, Albert. Joanne Race.
When I think of the CSP, I think of CEAC, exactly what Albert was talking about. CEAC is 5 or 6 pillars. There are 2 people per pillar. These are people who, if you have a medical question, you call these 2 people. If you have a question about the rec center or a comment or an idea, you call these people. I don't think CEAC is being utilized like they should. The people who are on that board, the CSP, I think, is so important, and I think CEAC, the people who are on CEAC, have to get back to the CSP. They truly do. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. And Don Harrison.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the CSP is a guiding document giving direction for the community into the future. And there are 5 pillars. And I do sit on CEAC. And we at CEAC are struggling sort of with the mandate of what CEAC's all about. We've asked a number of questions. And hopefully the new council will be able to take some of our comments and questions back to their strategic planning session and be able to give a little more direction. I agree that there needs to be more consultation within the community because it is a document that was, and as with all guiding documents, they sit on a shelf someplace and get very little exposure. So we hope to be able to update it and get the input that we need and go on from there.
Thanks, Don. Question from the floor, number 698. 700 on the nose. At least if you don't want to ask it, just say like pass or don't. 700, no? I got lots of questions. 702. Come on. 703. 704.
Yeah, there we go.
703, perfect. 704, you're up. Next question. 679. 679.
Hello, panel. My question is, how do you guys personally plan on attracting new revenue for Hinton? And that could be including new business and or increasing or businesses that are here already's footprint.
Thank you. Benita Smith.
Thank you. The land use bylaw that was adopted in 2007 allows for developers to, have a discretion for innovation and promotes collaboration for mutually beneficial outcomes. Attracting new business is part of this. The bylaw, it reduces barriers to new development, and it's less restrictive than our old bylaw, which is great because it means that we can attract new businesses from grassroots. So there's professionals working already who do have a foothold in economic development and people who know what we need. And aligning with those professionals will be my first and foremost goal, because I can't do it alone, and we don't make decisions alone as citizens. We don't live in a silo either. So attracting new business will be a collaborative effort through the Chamber of Commerce and as well through Community Futures. They're the professionals, and they're the ones who are working in this field every single day. So I trust the process that we do have.
Thanks,
people.
Stuart Taylor. Come on.
Yeah, I think I've alluded to this. The right conditions for growth and attracting business or investment include a combination of a competitive tax structure and business-friendly staff and regulations. So how do we show ourselves to be business-friendly? By ensuring cooperation, reasonable rules, attractive terms, if and when such things can be appropriately applied, plus helpful, cooperative, administrative staff. For existing businesses and for new businesses. We've had some new businesses that have moved into town that have said this is working. I think we have to maintain, you have to look for your good ideas from wherever you can, the Chamber of Commerce, the public, the businesses in town, and I think it's important to keep the Economic Development Committee that we've got going. It's starting to pay some good dividends. And I also believe that it's important for the mayor and council to go out and target investors and speak directly to out-of-town businesses that we think that we need in town.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks. Hello? Go ahead, Marcel.
4 years ago, we listened to business. We listened to that community. I'm not a business person, I don't own one, but I know how to listen. We created the foundation now with the key documents that were alluded to by the other two candidates here. Now we have to work with the Hinton region. I was told not to use acronyms, sorry. Economic Development Coalition. We have to work closely with them, but we have to go a step further. So short term, we listen to the developers, we offer that land, but now we have annexed land through the aerial structure plan. That's land that the town can go to the province and buy. So long term, we have to buy this land and we have to create a new business development option long term, not just for the next 2-3 years, because we are on the right track, but we have to think bigger than that. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. Don Harrison, council candidate.
Thank you. I think we need to review our commercial tax structure, whether that be enhanced tax rates. We need an aggressive marketing plan. We need to work with the Chamber of Commerce on what the needs are within our community, and also dialogue with our residents as to what they would like to see coming into our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Al Steinman.
Okay. Personally, I think that marketing our community to businesses, to industry throughout the province and outside the province, and saying, look, we have land, we have this lovely community with the mountains, outdoor opportunities. Some years ago, there was a great push for that type of marketing, and we got a few more companies to aggressively move into town. And I think we need to get back to that and market what we have here, provide land, provide the opportunities for these businesses to flourish here. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Tyler Watt.
We need to keep taxes competitive, and we need to maintain a focus on being easy to deal with. And all credit to the previous councils. They have done a lot of work on and administration on getting those boring documents I talked about before revamped and cleaned up, and to create a little bit more certainty when dealing with the town. And echo what other people said, I really do think we do have everything in place to really take off. I think the key now will be trumpeting what we have and getting the word out there that we are open and ready for business.
Thanks, Tyler. Alberta Stashik.
So a lot of the homework for improving commercial retail in Hinton has already been done. The new land use bylaw and municipal development plan are documents that have both made it much more clear for investors and developers who are considering doing these types of developments in town. They know what they're getting into and they know what they're getting out of it. We've already got one of the most favorable corporate tax rates in the region, but our biggest problem is Hinton isn't growing. Businesses don't want to invest in a community that's stagnant. They want to invest in a community that's exciting, where they see growth and they see potential. So to me, it's not just attracting commercial investors, it's attracting industry, commercial, and residents. And when our community is growing in all three of those areas, then we're going to see some significant growth. It's going to be commercial, you're going to get the shopping that you're asking for, and we're going to get all kinds of other spin-off benefits from it.
Thanks, Albert. Joanne Race.
I wish I could add a whole bunch to this. We've started good. We have the land use bylaw, took it down from this much of a manual to I think 80-some pages. We've apparently got a good working relationship going into the town, talking to the planning department. I truly feel that the people of Hinton are our greatest ambassadors. We can get out there and promote this town. There are so many good things happening here, and people need to know about them. I wish I could add more, but I have to get a bit more information on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Ryan Magoon.
Thanks. First thing, just very quickly, look around the room. I'll ask a question while you do that. Business owners, 4 years ago, what was it like going to do business with the town? Now, what's it like going to do business with the town? Change. Not fully there yet. If we want to be bold, it's not just about commercial business and small scale businesses. It is. We have to be bold. What is going to grow our town? Large scale industry. Right now, bold steps. I'd be the first one to say, let's annex land, encourage large scale industry to come in, set up shop, give them a tax break for 5 years. You want to see businesses come in? That's how you get them in. But the question is, does the political will exist to make that happen? That will provide jobs. That will provide level of support for families. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. And Dewey Nelson.
Thank you for the question, Jason. I believe the town is now open to growth, but we still have the reputation of being a community that's difficult to do business. We need to change our reputation both externally and internally. We need to celebrate the fact that we live in a community that has some of the best employment opportunities in the province, along with unmatched recreational opportunities. We could do small things like sending a team to this weekend's Franchise Expo, armed with relocation guides and our open for business attitude. We do big picture things like rebranding Hinton as a destination rather than a gateway, focusing on the amazing work-life balance that can be achieved, and leveraging our assets. Any town can discount land and defer taxes. One of the reasons I decided to run for council is that I have the experience of opening a business and relocating our family to this amazing community. I love being an ambassador for Hinton, And whether people are looking to open a business or live in this great community, there is nowhere I'd rather call home. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. We'll take one more question from the floor, and then we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Mr. Fiddler.
Hey. Just a quick one. It's kind of on the flip side of what you've all been talking about. What can we do about crime in town?
Thanks, Randy. That is Marcel Michaels.
This is a specific topic where I'm not the expert on it, but I know we have great resources in our town, and that's talking to the new police chief, talking to that department. We have bylaw in town also that we've increased our staff, which allow two departments now to deal with crime. Specifically, we can only create a good environment for our youths. I think we've all heard that before. So if we see the big picture of business, youth, seniors, and we create a good town with good amenities, that helps towards crime. Now specifics, I'm gonna have to take that from what the police chief says, and people who actually do that for a living. So I will listen with them, I'll sit on that committee, and we'll move forward to continue to help our town with the crime issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. Benita.
Thank you for the question. Many of you may be aware that in 2009, the town of Hinton commissioned a social development strategy, which was it was a multi-phase consultation that was implemented to try to understand some of the social issues that our community was facing at the time. Out of that, there were some outcomes that were really quite clear, that housing issues for demand, there were gaps in housing, and there still are today, but in 2009 they were identified to exist in our community around housing for seniors, around housing for men and youth, and there was a high correlation with drug activity and crime for homeless people who are at risk of not having a home or a place to live. So foundationally, when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a social theory, and he talks and speaks about the foundations of needing a home before you need anything else. And if you have a home, you're more likely to be successful because you have supports in place that.
Thanks, Benita. Stuart Taylor.
Yeah, one of the things council is doing now that I'm quite happy with is getting the RCMP in regularly to talk to council every 3 months, and so that's an option. And keeping the avenues open with the citizens, and I go out and talk to a lot of citizens in the coffee shops, whatnot. So passing that information on to the RCMP when you can, and even trying to get some of the RCMP out to some of these coffee shops to talk to people. Working on some of our affordable housing, our homelessness. There's been a report on that. And keeping some of our youth programs strong and vigorous to keep our youth occupied where we can do that. Keep our infrastructure in town strong, the bike park, those sort of things. If we keep our youth interested in the great outdoor life we have, they won't be worried about other things. Thanks.
Thanks, Stuart. Now going to council candidates. First, I have Tyler Waugh.
What to do about crime is a pretty complex socioeconomic issue. But if you're going for straight up enforcement, I think one of the things you need to try and do is try to revitalize community-driven programs like Citizens on Patrol and Community Watch. I know that there have been some point people at the RCMP that have tried to do so in recent years, and it just has struggled to take flight. The RCMP, to their credit, I think has been pretty active in community policing and engaging youth in recent years. Sorry to hear about the retirement of Deanna Alford, who had that role for a long time. Shout out, Deanna. But I am hesitant to put, people talked about youth a couple times now, and I'm hesitant to put it all on youth. I think that's a community issue. I think it's young adults. I think there's a lot of different factors there beyond youth. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Tyler. Ryan Magoon.
Yeah, thanks. I think really it comes down to safety, and I want you to ask us about photo radar after. Because if only we had a large pile of money that was used for something other than just putting up a light here and there, If only it could go towards, I don't know, some noble safety endeavor like firefighting and police, something that would keep our community safe. But the problem is we've kind of handcuffed ourselves, haven't we? You know, we limit what goes on there, we limit who controls it. Why does so much go to this community to a private corporation? These are all questions that need to be asked. With the proper resources, and of course social and economic supports, we can do whatever we want. But the thing is, again, do we have the political will to make the change? I have a plan, but it's more geared towards photo radar, police enforcement, and of course the fire department. So ask me about it later, social media, and we can get down to the nitty gritty. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Dooley Nelson.
Thanks for your question, Randy. Statistically, our crime rate is below average, especially for violent crime. Our crime rate is also cyclical. We've all seen the rash of truck thefts, then nothing. Much of our crime issues stem from the judicial system, not our policing. Lobby your MLAs and MPs for changes to the judicial system, and I think also be realistic that Hinton is a very safe place statistically. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Al Steinman.
Well, as Tyler mentioned, one of the things that you can do as an immediate thing is the revitalization of neighborhood watches, the citizens on patrol, and I guess I can throw that back to the residents as well. Look out for your neighbors. We used to be a community where you would, if you saw something unusual, you'd check it out just as a neighborly thing to do. And those are some of the things we need to do as a community, as well as support from the town for neighborhood watch and citizens on patrol. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Don Harrison.
Okay, thanks, Randy, for the question. What can we do about crime? The RCMP are doing a great job, but they can't be everywhere all the time. A lot of it comes back to the community. I've heard, my truck got broken into or my car got broken into, and I'm not going to report it because nothing ever gets done and nobody ever gets caught. That's the wrong thing to do. You must report everything to the RCMP as they open a file on it, and that helps with the statistics within town, and it also helps the staff sergeant when he goes forth to get additional resources and budget. So, if you see anything, like my colleague, candidate Steinman had mentioned, please look out for it and report it to the RCMP, however minor it is. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Joanne Race.
Thank you. I sat on the policing committee, very, very good committee in Hinton. There was 6 people on that committee, and every month we met with the police. We met with the fire department. We were given information that we could share with you. That committee disbanded. Being on that committee, any one of you could have come to me with your concern, and I would have taken it to the committee. I have also, while I was on the committee, I would go with people to the RCMP and be their advocate. What I'd like to see is we need to meet with the RCMP and see what they're doing. We need to find out what we can do ourselves. I'd love to see citizens on patrol. I would like to see is it block parties? And I'll tell you, I am the nosiest neighbor going. I am the best neighbor. If you leave your garage door open, I'll be making a phone call. I don't have it.
Thanks, Joanne. And Alberta Stashik.
Yeah, Citizens on Patrol and Neighborhood Watch, they're great community groups, and it would help immensely to see those community initiated groups start up again. But as far as things the town can do, I think it's important that the town's ensuring that they are doing their share to support our social service agencies, to ensure that people with addiction issues and homeless or at risk have resources available to them, so they don't feel like they don't have another choice. And perhaps it's time for council to consider reinstating the Hinton Policing Committee. That way we could ensure that there is a direct communication between citizens, the town, and law enforcement to try and nip these things in the bud when they can see them happening.
Thanks, Albert. Okay, so we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. I would ask that candidates have first dibs on the bathrooms. And candidates, you guys must come back after the break. Audience members, you don't have to come back, but if you don't, everyone else will just know how little you may care about the community.
Yeah, you betcha. There's some contact info on there, but you guys know how to do it.
Industry has there's no
Yeah.
Okay, but still, we're pretty small business in town. Start shutting you down. What did they do? To bring more people. The bulk bills now, they're looking okay. And the lines are the same thing.
You see the around here, they're pretty easy. It's recording. Yeah. Yeah, but that's not why we said it's sponsored.
Where are they going to work? So once that's done, but then what? That's where I don't agree with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that's what you're wrong. But that's not the fun.
There's no pause. Are you guys to stop it? Start up again?
That's not. They're already chopping. They're not chopping. We're talking about increasing, building up the town. When the pulp, before the pulp was here, there was only 50 people. Okay? Then the pulp mill came, and it's a spin-off. Thanks for doing this.
I gotta break my legs. Yeah.
I'm not saying that wouldn't help. But that's true. Walmart is not going to expand because you do that. Well, okay, that's a tax base. That's not the answer. They're not living. How many people? I don't know. How many? 10,000 people? They don't want to come in. They want to live there. Their tax base is here. Okay, but that doesn't work. It does. Not to the point the way you're talking. You need industry. That is a technical, but they don't teach people well, build homes. Like they have a brand new that's one thing. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're talking about bringing in the tax. That's growing the town. Not just the taxes, growing the
Okay, let's go. We're going to get things rolling again very soon. 1 minute warning.
No, I don't agree with you. I mean, you're not wrong. Oh, I'm sure.
Do you want to get everybody sorted? I think most people
Yeah, for sure, Luke.
Anyways, there's a lot of people here, that's good. And it's a good forum. I'd like to see more questions. It takes too long. You know, my sister lives in St. and she said they were having a forum. What they do, they have each farm sit down and go around all the way.
Hey, sir, can I go up and say hello to my neighbor? You know, I mean, I'm just going to say hi to Tyler. It's okay. See you guys.
One of the things they asked for Marcella and I
Okay, folks, we're gonna get going again here, please. I'm gonna draw the next number for a question. Very exciting. 678. 678. Anybody? You know how this works. Oh, Mr. Helmig. Okay, Brent, just give me 1 second. Next question number 688. Go ahead.
So I just want to say good luck to all you candidates. You each bring a unique vision to this table. I hear how important affordable housing is for our seniors and how infill development is for our community. I have parents in their 70s as well as many of their friends. They've lived here most of their lives and want to retire here. However, Hinton has very few options. People who built this community are looking to move away. Past councillors have campaigned for affordable senior housing and infill development, which I feel these two items work together. Lately, many projects have been held up due to the NIMBY factor. How are any of the running candidates proposing to overcome these hurdles? I feel these are very serious items that need to be handled quickly once new council is in order for Hinton to benefit from upcoming opportunities.
There you have it. That is Stuart Taylor.
Brent, my sense is that the town hasn't been aggressive enough as it could have been when it comes to housing. And I'm thinking in terms of facilitating projects and even working on larger developments. And I mentioned 40 to 70 units, establishing an incentive package, delaying off-site levies, and maybe initial tax incentives. To facilitate this, we could consider a number of options. Location near services, putting out bids to developers, local and regional, to improve what we could call a phased-in market-driven approach. If the developer owns his own land, the incentive package could apply to him as well. And hopefully this will be part of the town's strategic plan, initiated in a prompt manner. There's no advantage to waiting. And reference to NIMBY, you need independent councillors who, before meetings, and I think we have this, go out and talk to the community and know what the community wants, not just the people at the meeting. Thanks.
Benita Smith.
Thank you for the question. Affordable housing for seniors has been an issue for a very, very long time. And I recognize that there have been challenges in our community to get some of these builds started. And I really value creative thinking about these ideas. And I've been around town to visit some people who are working in the industry right now. And there's some creative energy out there about different ways that we can address this. And it means coming together to the table with people who are willing to invest, who are willing to build, and who are willing to say, yes, I'm willing to be creative about how we can approach this. I can honestly say I don't have all the answers because I'm not a builder, but I am a social thinker. And so being able to collaborate with people who are professionals in what they do will be my strength. And so my answer is I don't know the answer yet, but working together with the people who do work in this field, we can come to a resolution to address this need in our social housing for seniors. Thank you.
Thanks, Benita, and Marcel Michaels.
Out of all the topics here tonight, this is probably the one that needs the most leadership from your mayor. The first two things I would do is we have to create a senior strategy committee. We have committees for the library board, we have committees for ASH, where we have multiple councillors. We need a committee to sit down with all the people who are invested by this. We have to learn from our mistakes. What we've done hasn't been right. We need to focus on one goal instead of being all over the place. And infill, that's a very good one. We also made a mistake, and we have to learn from that mistake that with infill, we now have to take all the spots that are available in town, go through them before wasting people's time. So we had Cheviot and we had habitat together without knowing all the variables together. So we have to put them in order, find out which places are the infill that we want, and then go from there, and then we'll get it right. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. And now on to council candidates, beginning with Ryan Magoon.
Brent, I think the biggest thing is we haven't had the major enough projects come to us yet. We haven't had the incentive programs put together to develop and encourage developers of that scale to come in and build. We've had local developers really try, and they really have. My hat's off to them. But the builds based on their scale, they just weren't affordable enough for our seniors locally. Everybody was trying. So it comes back to council to develop the policy, the incentives necessary to attract larger scale business to bring down the costs. And as far as NIMBY goes, I'll answer right to the Sherwood question. There's been times I've been for and against development in that area, but it was based on safety. I grew up down there. You ask anybody from that area, I was a rugrat running around. And it hurt when you have to, build something or promote something that doesn't enhance the community according to what everybody else wants, but it's good for the whole town. So I've been there. It has to be about safety. That last build, I felt, was a major safety concern. Thank you.
Thanks, Rugrat. Don Harrison.
Thanks, Brent, for the question. Committees, they have their place. I'm not really a committee man, but I think in this case we do have to get together with the developers, local, provincial, wherever they may be, and the people that are going to be using it, and form a seniors housing strategy committee and come up with some very concrete goals, objectives, and timelines as to get this done. Like I mentioned earlier, we had this conversation 4 years ago and nothing's been done. So I think it's time that we put our nose to the grindstone and just get it done. We can't wait.
Thanks, Don. Dooley Nelson.
Thanks, Brent. I spoke earlier to 4 specific affordable housing options, so I'll talk now specifically to the Habitat project. I really struggle with Hinton's Habitat project. I don't necessarily disagree with the decisions made both at Baker and Cheviot, but I do firmly disagree with the process. Speaking to Cheviot, council voted unanimously to keep the process moving to the public hearing stage. That resulted in expensive studies being completed and using a lot of administration's time. When it came to the public hearing, council not only folded like a cheap tent, they also shifted responsibility to administration. Sometimes you have to start with the end in mind. If you know weeks before an election that a group of people protesting development would result in the project moving forward, understand that before you waste the time and the money. And it's not just the government's time, it's the citizens' time who wrote letters, attended, and spoke out at meetings. Affordable housing needs to be a well thought out strategy, and to this point it's been all talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Joanne Race.
Okay. Sometimes council is going to have to make a decision that does not sit good with the community. They do. We had, months ago, we had some rezoning happening in town. And the 2 people, the dad and son, they went to everybody involved and they talked to them. It was probably one of the best rezoning, best public houses ever because we got together and talked. Not me. I do think if the citizens aren't going to come to council and hear, council and the town has to take it to the citizen, to all the citizens involved, and make sure they understand the project. Another thing, council's going to see and get information that you guys will never see, you'll never hear. So they're making information or a decision based on information they have. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Albert Ostashik.
Well, infill, just by its nature, is always going to be controversial because it so deeply affects the citizens that are surrounding the development project. But infill is also important in terms of affordability because one of the challenges in building in Hinton is installing infrastructure is so expensive here. We do not have flat ground. It's not easy to put in pipe here. We have rock, we have hills. So that has to be taken into account. So infill is one of the only options that's available that's easily developable. And because it's easy, the properties can be cheaper, which lends itself to the affordability. As far as the NIMBY aspect of it, I think it's important that council goes to the community and they know what the community wants and that they have the strength to stand behind the community's best interests and not to be swayed by the vocal minority.
Thanks, Albert. Al Steinman?
I've looked at this as an issue that is going to be coming to this council. Some of the things that I've thought of is looking at purpose-built housing for seniors, going to these developers and saying, look, you can't build two-story homes for an aging population. We need single-family slab-built homes. We needed to have them purpose-built. If we can't get them purpose-built, maybe we need to zone another area like we did years ago in East Hardisty, where we have manufactured on own lots. As far as the infill question, infill will always be unpopular. I think we owe it to the people affected to listen and really hear their concerns and then make an informed decision with their concerns in mind as well as the needs of the community.
Thanks, Alan, and Tyler Waugh.
I'm going to speak specifically to the NIMBY part of this as opposed to put forward affordable housing options. I agree with Marcel and what he said, that you have to identify the best opportunities and match them with particular projects on the front end. It avoids wasting time. But ultimately, I concur with candidate Nelson. It comes down to political will. If it's part of your strategic goal to create affordable housing or seniors housing, I agree. The best opportunities will likely be through infill, and if that's going to be the case, then you have to have the fortitude to go through with an unpopular decision that may upset the members of that neighborhood. It's for the greater good of the community as a whole, and that's what you have to do to guide all of your decision making.
Thanks, Tyler. Next question is 688. Did somebody have that number and want to ask a question? $693. $684. Fantastic. We'll try this again. Next number, this hasn't worked yet, will be 686.
Hi, thanks for coming out tonight and the time that you've put into this so far. My question is, we've talked a long time. I grew up in Hinton along with my husband. We've talked about limited growth for a number of years, but families are booming here. We have large class sizes. Ice time is not affordable outside of hockey. Boxing and gymnastic clubs couldn't find space. There's only 2 locations for larger birthday parties. Our skate park is nearing its lifespan. There's wait lists on swimming lessons, freezing water in our pools. My family and I are planning to move. What needs to be done now to keep families here, or do you feel that there's enough being done? Thank you.
First to answer as a mayor candidate is Benita Smith.
I have a written document to answer that, but I'll answer it just the way from what I remember. I do believe that recreation and opportunity for youth and families and children is very important, as well as library and access to all different services that support healthy families and growth and development. Our community does have some anemones, and we do have some anemones that are challenged with the way that administratively we roll out our programs. I am firmly convinced that we can do better, and that administratively we can be challenged to meet the demands of our community with the resources we have. I believe that we have the capacity within administration as it is, and with our new CAO coming, I know that he probably will too believe that we can do it together to meet the demands of those things that you were speaking about today. So thank you very much for bringing that up.
Thanks, Benita. Marcel Michaels.
Thank you for the question. Sometimes we do things backwards. We build facilities like we live in Florida. There's really not much to do from October to May. If you're organized sports, great. We don't have facilities that cater to our weather. It's minus 30 all the time. It's cold. We need the mindset long term that anything we build for this community is for 12 months of the year. Great is if you're in hockey. What are we going to do? We talk about the pool, which is very important. At some point, we have to do a pool. We don't have a viable indoor play park. Families who just want to play at the park in the summer is great. 7 months of the year, it's not great. A focus has to be on families, and families tied to businesses and seniors. It's a whole big circle. So let's start building intelligently. Things that work for us 12 months of the year. That would be my first step. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel and Stuart Taylor.
I mentioned a few things before. Maximize the innovation for the facilities that we do have. We've got some facilities, the pool, the recreation center, that are underutilized. We need to get aggressive and get these maximized. We need to look at facilities that are underutilized. For example, the one on, we made a decision on the Cheviot Drive. We've got a building there that's doing nothing really. It could be repurposed into something for children. And I think the way this works is to go out to the children's groups or the active groups and get our family service or recreation staff to go out and talk to them regularly to see what they need and where we can fit in their needs with what we've got already. And certainly we need to advertise and keep advertising in the local papers our programs so people are well aware of them. And when we create a new facility, if we're going to close down an old facility, we need to be careful of that. I'm thinking of ball diamonds and spray parks.
Council candidates, beginning with Al Steinman.
Yeah, I guess my concern with recreation facilities in this community is, as Stuart says, they are underutilized, and we need to focus on making sure that we maximize the opportunities with the existing facilities before we look at building more facilities, and whether the usage of these facilities warrants building new facilities. It's a balanced fixed cost versus usage. If we don't have the usage, the price has to be higher because of the fixed costs, and it's a bit of a chicken and an egg scenario where we've got to find a way to make these used well so that they become affordable on an hourly basis for people to use those facilities.
Thanks, Al. Tyler Watt.
I go back to my opening statement with a real focus on attracting families in mind with a lot of our decision making, and I think that starts with enhancing our built environments, starting with a pool, and then I think there's a lot of opportunity for enhanced programs and amenities for kids within the space that will be vacated by the current pool. To give you some context, in 2006, there were 590 single dwelling homes in Hinton. 2016, that's 970. We're attracting single people. Families, there were 1,490 couples with children in Hinton in 2006. 2016, that had dropped to 1,245. We are not attracting and retaining families. I think built environments is one of the way to go.
Thanks, Tyler. Ryan Magoon.
Yeah, thank you. I think really we're back again to ensuring that we're promoting the programming that we have in town to the best level we have. You've heard a number of people say that we're not utilizing our spaces that we have efficiently. We need to devote the resources necessary to administration, not only to be able to help coordinate the activities from all different groups that use town facilities in areas in town so that we're using them well, but also to market ourselves. One of the things we've talked about is making Hinton a destination for all sorts of sports, for venue events, filling the Hinton Center with different activities. That hasn't been discussed enough. That needs to happen. We have the facilities, let's use them appropriately, let's use them wisely. But again, let's make sure that we're working with all of our local folks who want to see more activities promoted. And FCSS, the town, we can work together collaborative, just like we did working with just thinking disc golf. They expanded. Sorry, I was trying to plug you.
Thanks, Ryan. Dooley Nelson.
Thanks for your question, Haley. I've addressed a few of these things before, but we really need to get the updated rec center right. We need to not only build a fitness facility, we have access to fitness facilities. We need to make sure we keep those studio rooms that are flexible and can be used for indoor play parks or, the big bouncy balls or trampoline parks or whatever it is. We need to make sure we have that flexibility. The lineup at the gymnastics club at the registration fair showed exactly how much demand there's for new programming in our community. I believe there's people who did not choose to do gymnastics simply because the lineup was insane. I also think we need to support our volunteers. The volunteers are the heartbeat of everything we do here. Whether it's the bike park, the more recent disc golf, the Nordic Center, boxing, gymnastics, it's those volunteers, and we need to, as a town, make sure they're supported, both with funding, but also just verbal support and emotional support, and make sure they know how much they're appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Don Harrison.
Thank you for the question. I'll give an example. I was down at a hockey skills camp on the weekend, and there was the ice training, and then the group that was putting that on, they went over to the boxing club, and they utilized the facilities there. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is we have many groups, nonprofit groups that are working together, or should be working together on more of these collaborative kind of events. We do have the facilities. Yes, some of them are showing their age and getting tired, and they're going to have to be renovated or upgraded. But we do have the facilities, and I really think through the volunteerism and also the nonprofit groups beginning to work a little closer together, we might be able to accommodate some of these shortages in areas where they've been proven.
Thanks, Don. Albert Stachik.
As far as activities for young people to keep our families so that they're engaged in the community, I think it comes down to two things, and that's options and opportunities. Some of the options that are available is the existing rec center, and of course the renovated rec center. And one thing that's not been mentioned so far tonight is the new performing arts venue that's scheduled to be open in just a few days. That is another venue that offers options for our youth in the community. As far as opportunity, I think the biggest thing is making sure that all those existing amenities are the use of them is being maximized, that they are not sitting empty. There's times people are fighting for space, they can't find space, and then other times in the day or during the week, that space is sitting empty for hours on end. Perhaps it means coordinating those activities to make sure that we are maximizing the assets that we have at our disposal already.
Thanks, Albert. And Joanne Race.
You know what? I met you Saturday, and you are not someone I want to lose. You are someone we need to keep in this community. I'll tell you guys, our pool's not going to happen overnight. We've got to do stuff now to keep people here. We truly do. I agree with what everybody said at this table. I have mums coming to me saying, where's the Cubs for boys? Where's Scouts for boys? Where's the Boys and Girls Club? Where did these things go? I don't know what the answer is. I truly wished I did, but I want to be part of the solution. And I'll tell you guys, everything you're hearing up here tonight, whoever gets in, you keep reminding them of what they said tonight, right? So we don't lose people like you. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne and Haley, for the question. 688. Okay. 694.
Thank you.
705. Perfect.
Finally, mic's up. First of all, I'm Hank Smith. My question has to do with vision for the future. One of the big topics of past council has been geothermal, but nothing's been stated by any council member up here about that yet. I like to see vision and innovation. That's how we keep people here. Can you speak to that, all of you?
Mayor candidate Marcel Michaels, first to speak.
Thanks for the question, Hank. I want to be known as a town of today and tomorrow. We're opening up a coal mine in our town. Whether it's alternative energy, geothermal, we have to be open to it. We need a mayor with vision, with leadership, who understands that, okay, we might be all right today, but are we going to be all right in 20 years from now? The important thing is, whether you're pro or against geothermal, you need a leader who understands that they're going to make the right decision. So if you're for it and it makes sense for a town, we'll make sure to work with our council, get the 3 other votes, hopefully all 7, to make sure geothermal happens in our town. But if it doesn't make sense and it costs us and there's risks, I'm going to work hard to make sure that it doesn't come here. It's pretty simple. Let's just make sense of it. It's either good or it's not, and we follow the right path, but we have to be open to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. Benita Smith.
Thank you for the question. On a global scale, climate change is a big issue. There has been a push on the international marketplace to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and to creatively tap into energy sources with less carbon footprints. Hinton, as we know and we've learned already, is situated in an ideal location for geothermal energy, and we have a base 0 carbon footprint once all of the infrastructure is in place. In the 1950s, Hinton was pegged by creative business people who had an idea for a visionary pulp and paper industry in this community. Imagine what forward thinking and risk was associated with building that pulp mill. Hinton can tap into the visionary leadership of our founders. We can be open to proposals and for new investment. Green energy is in demand. International investors are knocking at our door. They're watching to see what's going to happen in Alberta. The current mayor and stakeholders have been diligently working to build collaborative relationships with universities, education, citizens. Thank you.
Thanks, Benita. And Stuart Taylor.
The proposed geothermal project is something that's never been done before in Alberta, according to the first report Council received. It's a high-risk investment that should only be undertaken with extreme caution. Geothermal projects have certainly been done, but not one where you get the energy from miles away and you bring it to Hinton. We all know that if this type of project was economically viable, we'd see private business undertaking it entirely apart from government grants. Projects should be flushed out before government grants are considered. If taxpayers and voters decided that council should depart from its normal role of governance in water, sewer, protective services, then I think council should act. Apart from that, no. And I'm speaking of a plebiscite. And this is not that complicated a project. It can't be summed up in a concise way for a plebiscite. As mayor, I would be inclined to encourage private investment to take an active role in this type of project.
Thanks, Stuart. And council candidates, starting with Albert Ostashik.
I think it's important, while we're having an eye towards vision and innovation, that we make sure that we're supporting our traditional industries too. Our traditional industries have carried this town for 60 plus years. But looking forward to the future, and specifically towards geothermal, I don't think it takes anything more to see the vision than reality. The reality is that coal is being phased out. Regardless of whether the NDP stays in power or not, coal is not being looked upon favorably in the community, in the worldwide community. When I first heard of geothermal, I thought it was a fanciful, pie-in-the-sky dream until I went to the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association convention last year. There were no less than 5 different seminars at that convention regarding the future of energy in Alberta. And one of them, there was an executive from Shell Canada who was speaking regarding alternative energies and the role that they are going to play in the future. The reality is, if coal is phased out, we have no viable power option other than...
Thanks, Albert. Don Harrison.
Thanks for the question, Hank. Yes, I don't think anyone will dispute that we need to look at alternative energies. And I like to look beyond just geothermal. I think we have an opportunity here for water, solar, and wind. Let's look at the big picture, and I know there's been a group formed with the acronym of HEAT, Hinton Energy Action or Alternative Team, and they're looking at this at these different alternatives. There's much more work that needs to be done in geothermal. Yes, we're sitting on a hot scene here. There's no doubt about it. We just have to go 20 miles down the road, and we're at Mayat Hot Springs. The resource is here, but I think there needs to be a lot more work done on the business case and what it's going to cost to be able to get this into a commercial venture here within the town of Hinton.
Thanks, Don. Ryan Magoon.
Thanks a lot. Honestly, I wish somebody was asking questions about sustainable industry when my father was laid off from Greg River when it shut down. And I know there's many people in here who experienced that. We have to be forward thinking. But really it comes down to, I don't think it's reasonable for any candidate up here, mayoral or council, to say right now at this minute with this project, we're going to do this. You simply don't have the information. We've put a lot of resources into looking at the business model and the business cases, good partnerships, but at the end of the day, there's more homework to be done. And I will be for or against it depending on if it makes the best sense for this community. It's simple.
Thanks, Ryan. Dooley Nelson.
I hope that everyone sees that geothermal is just an example of the tenacity and creativity with which I approach any important topic. It was a topic that was polarizing and I felt required another voice. I invested a ton of time and effort to gain a better understanding of it. I engaged the people that were against geothermal to compile a list of questions that needed answers. I created educational opportunities for our citizens, and I reached out internationally to talk to people not involved with our project. If the federal and provincial governments offered us funding for $1.2 million of research and information about our municipal buildings, town infrastructure, and Hinton's underlying geology, we would welcome it with open arms. That's where we're at with geothermal currently. I fully support moving forward with a full FEED study, providing the entire $1.2 million does not come from Hinton's municipal coffers. We need more information to be able to make an educated decision on the viability of this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Joanne Race.
I kind of want to echo what everybody's saying here. Council does not make decisions just for 4 years. Council's going to make decisions that will impact this community 10, 20 years down the road. It's my understanding right now with geothermal, they are looking for $1.2 million to conduct that feasibility study. If that study comes back saying, yes, that is a sustainable resource, we are so hot here, we have to do it, we need to look at that. We do. We do. That 1.2, as far as I know, is not coming from our pocket. So let's settle down, let's wait. If the money comes through, the feasibility study is done, then we have a decision to make.
Thanks, Joanne. Tyler Watt.
The town spent $250,000 for some initial studies from the automated traffic enforcement program, and I fully support the decisions that got us to this point. And right now our skin is in the game, and the private sector and other levels of government are working hard right now to find the funding to get to the next stage, which is that business study. Went to that chamber presentation, I believe it was back in June, and it is a changing landscape for geothermal. It's an established resource in other countries, including in the US, and as the presenter said at that point, that viability doesn't stop at the border. There's no reason why it can't take place in Alberta. There's a lot of questions still yet to be answered, but that's what the study will be for, and I think we can just have a more informed discussion at that point.
Thanks, Tyler. And Al Steinman.
I applaud that we've taken that $250,000 and put, as I say, some skin in the game. But I don't believe until we get more outside funding, more outside buy-in other than our municipal tax dollars, that we should go too far with this. I'm open to it in principle, but it needs a lot more work, and I'm not prepared to spend any more municipal tax dollars on it at this time.
Thanks, Alan. Just before I draw the next number, I wanted to take a quick second before we get too late into the evening. The Hinton District Chamber of Commerce, the Yellowhead Labor Council, and the Hinton Voice organized this evening. So I just wanted to mention that the Yellowhead Labor Council actually paid for us to have the room and the snacks. So thank you to those 3 key organizers. $704. Mr. Dugan.
I want to know what your guys' view is on plebiscites, and when is the time for a plebiscite in the decision-making process?
Short and sweet. First to speak is Stuart Taylor.
I think you know. find it puzzling that some people don't like plebiscites. I find it puzzling because it's an important and underutilized tool that can enhance elected council's effectiveness. Here in Hinton, I've mentioned I think it could be used for the $30 million swimming pool, photo radar, and whether to continue with the geothermal project. I'm suggesting that in the past, out of 100 decisions that council's made on an annual basis, or say 400 in the last 4 years, if that's roughly right, my math might be wrong, there were 2 that I thought deserved plebiscites. That was the performing arts and the geothermal project. When an elected council uses a plebiscite to consult with the public, it's a sign of good governance. It's not a sign of weak governance. It recognizes the fact that council members are here to represent people, not to manage their lives. Thanks.
Thanks, Stuart. Benita Smith.
I believe in collaboration and informed decision-making, and that they're effective tools in the democratic process. There are a number of arguments against the use of plebiscites by electoral governments. The first is that the process weakens the representative democracy by undermining the role of the importance of the elected representatives. The second is that the means for an elected representative is sometimes avoided by having to take an unpopular position on a controversial issue. The risk then, also in a plebiscite, is when citizens are not, they shouldn't be expected to make decisions on complex issues that they don't have the time to educate themselves about as the time that elected officials do. I believe that collaboration and informed decision-making are effective tools in the democratic process. There are limitations and boundaries in this process as well. Information sometimes comes to us in silos, and misunderstandings often come if you don't have informed decision-making as a base value in how you're going to make those decisions.
Thanks, Benita. And Marcel Michaels.
Thank you for the question, Colton. My stance is pretty clear on this. Some people think plebiscites respect the voters. I think it's a little bit of the opposite. Are there moments for a plebiscite for huge things that have never came up? Absolutely. If a catastrophe came up and we had to really put our town at risk for a decision, I would consider it. But generally, think of something that you like or that you want. Usually it's only 20, 30% of people that like that. So what plebiscites do is it puts you up against a wall, going uphill. If the 70% of people want to come out and vote against you, you get nothing. As a leader, as your mayor, I have to fight for you whether you're the 1%, 10%, 50%, 100%. We need a piece of everything. I'll make that rational, intelligent decision on, okay, you're 10% of the people, you're going to get 10%, but you're not going to be overlooked and get nothing. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. And now to council candidates, Joanne Race.
You know, I'm really torn over plebiscites. I really am. I can envision this. Don't forget to vote on Tuesday. What are we voting for? The pool. Oh, yeah. I am so concerned that people will go make that vote and they do not have all the information they need to make a proper vote. Another thing, I don't want to see that blame game. If it goes sideways, I don't want to be the one to say, hey, you guys, you voted, not me. I feel it could cause division in the community. It surely could, and that's a worry to me. Another thing, Marcel, you had said, if this project is so big and it puts the town at risk, then maybe we do need a plebiscite. I'll tell you, if it puts this town at risk, I don't want to have a plebiscite. I don't want uninformed people making a decision that's putting our town at risk. And you guys, that's why you're voting in this council. You want this council to make decisions. You know they've read. And thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Don Harrison.
Okay, thanks, Colton. A plebiscite is one of the tools in the toolbox, and it's never to be taken lightly. If we as council and mayor are doing our job, we should never have to get to a plebiscite, because we're properly informing the public. We're giving you the same kind of data that we have so that we can make the informed decision. And then if it gets out to the community and it's the public's will, that would be one trigger for a plebiscite. And I would fully support it. But if we're doing our jobs, we should never have to get to the point of where there's a plebiscite that has to be called.
Thanks, Don. Al Steinman.
Great question, Colton.
there are mechanisms in place that if the voters feel strongly enough that there needs to be a plebiscite, they can call for a plebiscite. Council's in place to make decisions with input from informed voters. If we had gone with the will of a plebiscite some 35, 40 years ago, can you imagine this community without an underpass on Switzer Drive? That would have been the consequence. The plebiscite was a no. The mayor and council of the day said, no, this is the wrong decision. We will build this underpass. So think of what Hinton would be like without that underpass. And it cost the mayor and some of the councillors their elected seats in the next election, but they made the right decision for the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Albert Mostashik.
I was asked this question not long ago by a citizen, and while we discussed it, he said, "What's the matter? Don't you think the people of Hinton are smart enough to make a decision on a plebiscite?" And at that point, I got mad. I said, of course the people of Hinton are smart enough to make a decision on a plebiscite. The question is, do the people of Hinton have enough time to devote to make sure that they're fully informed on what it is that they're voting on? Council often sits through multiple presentations that are hours long regarding major projects that come before us. There's hundreds of pages of documents to read, and that's the whole reason behind representative democracy. The citizens vote people to make their informed decisions for them. If there's going to be a plebiscite, it would have to have very long-reaching and significant impacts. It would have to be really controversial and high risk to the town's future.
Thanks, Albert. Dooley Nelson.
I find it frustrating that plebiscites have been more of a topic during this election than things like mountain pine beetle or caribou range planning, or things that can greatly affect our community. We need to focus on progress and real issues, not rarely use governance. And I can promise you that if I held such a strong belief in an issue and I knew for 4 years the ideal time to execute, I would have put something forward to make my goals happen. To wait until you're unable to take action and then use it as a distraction from the real issues is not something I believe is fair to our citizens. The only right time for a plebiscite is during a ballot election, and nothing was brought forward to that point in the past 4 years. So I disagree with that opinion.
Thanks, Dooley. Tyler Waugh.
Yeah, I don't support plebiscites either. There's a lot of practical issues. They're non-binding, and I find that in a plebiscite, the decisions are made as much on emotion as they are on fact. I think with big decisions, you need to be considering the information in front of you and basing your decisions on fact. My central belief is that, honestly, these issues, and in particular contentious ones, should be decided by council as an elected body that has been tasked with considering all the relevant info and the public perspectives, and tasked with making the decisions that consider the greater good of the community.
Thanks, Tyler. And Ryan Magoon.
Honestly, I think this is being used as a topic to introduce too much politics into municipal government again. It comes down to electing politicians who have some common sense. And I know that's a far-out issue, right? It's about establishing when is the appropriate time to use a plebiscite. If you're on one end of the spectrum and all you chant is plebiscite, plebiscite, you've gone too far. If you're at the other end and you're unwilling to listen to the community, well, I'm sorry, you don't understand how democracy works. The idea is you have to elect people who you trust to have the common sense to use the appropriate time for those triggers. If you're on the extreme left or right of that, I'm sorry, it's not somebody I want in office. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. $692. There's a lot of numbers in here, so I'm not just letting people raise their hands. 683. Brent, where are you going? $696. Perfect.
Right here.
Ooh, Hank.
I'm Linda Travers. I'm the president of the Yellowhead Labor Council. City and town councils are asked to publicly show their support by passing the municipal softwood lumber resolution on the softwood NAFTA issue.
A question? We'll just give them a little bit more to work with.
Okay, I need to know how you feel on the municipal softwood lumber resolutions.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor's first, and it is Benita Smith, number 3.
Thank you for the question. I believe that our industry in forestry is really important in our community, and I don't know a lot about the softwood, about this industry at all, so I can't really speak to have an affirmative answer for you, but I do understand that workforce development is important, and supporting our communities' industries is important, and I'm willing to go to bat for that, to try to understand and learn and research as much as I can about it, should I be elected mayor, to come alongside to support that industry.
Thanks, Benita. Stuart Taylor.
I think it's important to stand up for our local industries, and I think that means standing up for the coal industry. I think that means standing up for our area-based West Fraser when it comes to the caribou, and I think it means standing up for initiatives that are going to keep our industry competitive. And again, I'm not that familiar with NAFTA. But if I look into it, and that I know it's kept us going for a long period of time, so to do something that keeps us more uncompetitive is not in the advantage of this community.
Thanks, Stuart. And Marcel Michaels.
Thank you for the question, Linda. This question hits a multitude of factors. Of course, we have to support our mills. We have to support industry. The thing is, if you want to be a mayor, you want to be part of council, you have to have that vision past that. So there are, like I said, a multitude of issues. One is pine beetles coming up, okay? That's one issue the mill has to deal with. The bigger issue, we see what's happening in Jasper, all the red trees. That's a fire hazard. So really the focus right now, although pine beetle will affect the soft lumber, the bigger picture is that's gonna affect our town. What is our plan when we have 2,000, 3,000 dead trees around Hinton next year? Because it will be red like here, like it is in Jasper. That's the bigger question. We'll try to address all the other questions regarding it, but that's the immediate fear that we need to deal with as a council, is work with the other levels of government to make sure our town is safe, and that would be the first step for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. Now to council candidates. First up, Dooley Nelson.
Thanks for the question. Are we on here?
We are now.
Perfect, thank you. I was expecting...
No, still not.
Check. I was expecting questions on caribou range and mountain pine beetle, but not really on softwood lumber. But basically, every few years, Canada goes through a softwood lumber disagreement with the U.S. We have always come out ahead, and basically their premise for the argument is that we subsidize our lumber because our lumber is on Crown land, their lumber is on private land. The numbers aren't true. West Fraser now has a bunch of mills in the U.S., and their lumber is just as expensive there. The issue as it pertains to NAFTA is there's something in NAFTA called Chapter 19. And Chapter 19 is the body that reviews those disputes. So if softwood lumber waits until after NAFTA, we're at risk of Chapter 19 being gone, and we will lose the softwood lumber agreement. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Joanne Race.
You know, Linda, thank you for the question. I have to be honest and say I do not know a lot of information about NAFTA. One thing I do know about pine beetle is Hinton, or our area, has been very proactive in clear cutting. When they find those trees, we're getting rid of them. But I wish I could answer more to your question. Sorry.
Thanks, Joanne. Alberta Stashik.
So a couple questions ago, I spoke to supporting our traditional industries, and this is exactly one of those instances where we have to do that. Forestry has been a driving industry in our town for 60 plus years, and I don't think that they are being treated fairly, especially by the Americans, regarding softwood lumber exports. So this is something that I would definitely support moving forward as a council.
Thanks, Albert. And Ryan Magoon.
Thanks. Just to start very simply, yes, of course. Support Canadian industry, support Canadian labor, support Canadian business. That's home. We need to watch and support that first. I mean, for myself, that's a no-brainer. Of course, we're going to send out that authorization and backing them up. But I think more importantly, we should start thinking about is taking American extremist politics a little bit more seriously. It was a big joke when Trump got elected, but now he's talking about dismantling NAFTA. These are the agreements we've had in place for years to facilitate that trade. It was a big show, it was funny, but now it's getting a little serious, and we see the effect it has here. Not so funny anymore, is it?
Thanks, Ryan. Tyler Watt.
Because I was speaking last, I had a chance to download the resolution that you had suggested, and I don't see anything within it that I could possibly oppose as a council member. You do have to support the foundation of your local economy, and the mill has been here for 60 years, like Albert said, and it seems to me like it would be a no-brainer to vote in favor of that resolution.
Thanks, Tyler. Al Steinman.
I also would be in favor of supporting that resolution simply because the mill has been a large part of our community, a large part of our economy. Over the years, they've supported this town both with their large industrial-based tax dollar and with supporting homes, workers, families. And the least we can do as a council is support them when they need our help.
Thanks, Al. And Don Harrison.
Thanks for the question, Linda. Being a registered professional forester and working in forestry for some 37 years, and been through NAFTA, I've been through Chapter 19 about 4 or 5 times. And yes, Canada has proven in the world courts that the forest industry is not being subsidized in Canada. I fully support the resolution that we support our local industry. It's very important to our economy. And yes, it's extremist politics, but I don't think that Mr. Trump and his group are going to get very far ahead. It's already been proven in the world courts.
Thanks, Don. And thanks again, Linda and the Yellowhead Labour Council for supporting the event. One more question from the floor before closing comments. And the number is, you wish, buddy. 690.
Bingo!
All right, you guys. So we've heard everybody up here talk a little bit tonight in regards to how some of you are disappointed with maybe some of the money that is being spent trying to do some background checks or survey and try to figure out like the geothermal. Some people are in favor of it, some people are not in favor of the money that's being spent from our local tax dollars. Also, we've heard from you people that we need to bring in industries. So with that in mind, if CNRL wanted to look for some oil in the ground, we don't do the exploratory work to try to get them to come to our community. If a coal mine, such as one starting up, wants to open up in this neck of the woods, we don't do the exploratory work. They come in, they drill for the coal, they spend their money. So my question is, when it comes to our tax dollars from the town of Hinton, I just want a show of hands, that's it. How many of you people up there would say yes to continuing to spend our tax dollars, our local Hinton dollars, towards continuing to explore this geothermal? So, hands up, how many people would continue to spend Hinton dollars? With what we know right now? Or are we going to wait for the provincial government, federal government? So as it stands right now, unless the federal, provincial antes up all of the money, no more Hinton dollars to be wasted on this geothermal. Like, that's not our business.
Okay, we're good. I think that was a very fair question and one that I'm going to allow everyone to have a chance to speak to. But I think it is clearly a yes or no question. So we'll start with Marcel Michaels.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Bancroft. My answer is no. It's quite simple. We have to go down that road and really plan this out. That's the important part about having experience on council. Sometimes you get projects that come in front of you and you're like, you kind of just go by the seat of your pants. So we have to make sure that we know this inside out. And we have huge other issues that are coming. The water treatment plant's an issue. We're taking over that. We have to plan those things with the infrastructure. Like I said, in November, we're going to have millions and millions of dollars we're going to spend. So would I right now? Absolutely not. But once we find out there's more information, I will consider it, and I'll talk to the public. A phone call's free. I don't want to spend money on publicizing and things of that nature. I will listen to you and make an informed decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. Stuart Taylor.
No. Not even, I would go further. I would go say municipal, provincial, or federal dollars. I think we have to fully flush out the capital and operating costs of the project. I think before we make decisions, we should understand the full cost of the project. So that includes this project. And like I mentioned, it's marginally economic. We've spent almost $250,000 trying to flush it out so far. You got to remember, there's one taxpayer, and he pays the provincial, the federal, and the municipal money. It's not a never-ending well. Figure out if it's economic first. Like, how much more do you have to spend? We spent $250,000. So thanks.
Thanks, Stuart. And Benita Smith.
Thank you for the question. I do support advocacy for creative thinking. I do promote, and I will promote and continue to promote innovative thinking on a global scale. But when it comes to your question, I will not support taxpayers' money to invest in this, because this is something that's on a global scale, and our global economy can respond to it. And if they're really wanting to invest in it, I believe they will.
I already answered.
Okay. Thank you, Benita. And moving to council candidates, Don Harrison.
Well, the short answer is no. No, I will not support any Hinton tax dollars going into any more work on geothermal. There is lots of more work that needs to be done, and I'll give you the example. Chevron Resources is big into geothermal in the States, and I asked some 8 or 9 months ago, has anybody approached Chevron Resources? If we're sitting on this hot scene, why aren't they coming up with these kind of exploratory kind of dollars and the expertise to really help us out here? Julie might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think the government's got regulations on who owns the resource in the ground yet. So we're a long way away from ever getting, and I don't want to see another cent from Hinton being put into this until such time as we have a rational business case.
Thanks, Don. Al Steinman.
As I said in my earlier statement, we've put more than our fair share into it to explore it as a good green alternative. I don't begrudge that. It's a done deal, but I don't support any more tax dollars being spent on it until some other people pony up.
Thanks, Al. Joanne Race.
Brad, my answer is no. Right now, if they were to ask us to be part of that 1.2, I would be saying no. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Alberta Stashik.
My short answer is also no. I think the town has invested the seed money to show proof of concept, and now it's time for other levels of government and private industry to step in, do the full feasibility study, and carry it further if it warrants. There's huge concerns about how power is going to be generated in Alberta in the future. The district heating concept, it's interesting, it's got possibilities, but my main interest is in power generation and what that's going to mean in the future in Alberta.
Thanks, Albert. Tyler Waugh.
My short answer is also no. No more municipal money until we get a better idea of what the real prospects are and what the vision is to carry this out. But if I can, I'd like to speak to something Mr. Taylor said about there being only one taxpayer regarding provincial and federal money. If elected to town council, I feel my only purview is to get as many resources and as much money as possible to make things happen in this town. If I'm worried about provincial or federal funding, I will run for those levels of government. If I'm elected to town council, I'm going to try and leverage as much as I can to bring possibility here.
Thanks, Tyler. Ryan Magoon.
Brad, no. We've done our share, and I think within reason. But at this stage of the game, it's up to the other partners. If the provincial government is going to tell us on a very short notice we're going to make this big shift, then you come to the table with some of the solutions. You know, we've worked a little bit. What about the federal government? They're pushing green initiatives. If they want to be part of that, great. But at this point in time, absolutely no.
Thanks, Ryan, and Dewey Nelson.
I just want to address one of the first comments, and it's why are we paying for this research to be done? And the reason we're paying for it is that Hinton would own that utility. We would own that business. And whether we run it as our own utility or sell it as a utility, that's to be determined later. My short answer to your question is no. I believe it's our job to make sure we get that $1.2 million. If I'm elected, my job will be to fight for that $1.2 million. I really believe in this project, but it's up to us up here to de-risk it to a point that we know what we're getting, not something that we're hoping for. I've put myself in a position to know what questions to ask and have the right people to ask it to, and that's what I plan to do with this project. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the question, Brad. We're going to move to closing remarks. So the order for that will begin with Mayor again, and they will go in the reverse order from what they initially went, and that would mean you two switch seats. Benita Smith, closing remarks first.
I value the process of collaboration and teamwork. I acknowledge that diversity in council is an asset. Each council member has the potential to make valuable contributions to work effectively together for the benefit of our whole community. As mayoral candidate, I commit to contributing to an environment that allows for people to work collaboratively, to productively achieve outcomes that are for the best interest of our community. I commit to being an active agent in the process of informed decision making and to proactively build networks and trusting relationships with stakeholders. I commit to active research and to listening to what outcomes are important to citizens. I commit to the process of collaborative informed decision making and to working collectively toward maximizing resources to achieve results that are aligned with the goals and the visions of our community. I commit to maintaining open consultative accountability to our citizens, administration, and stakeholders. When you make your vote on October 16th, you must believe that each person you choose to elect to council will represent the best interest of our collective good and value the process of teamwork and working to sustainable economic growth.
Thanks, Benita. Stuart Taylor.
My opening remarks, I forgot to thank the Yellowhead Labour Council, so thank you for helping to organize this event. I want to work cooperatively, respectfully, and professionally with everyone. I want to work with the strengths of the individuals that we have on council, and I understand the importance of teamwork and greatly appreciate its value. I have a long work history of successfully building teams. I think a great start to that is when we get elected, is working on the strategic 4-year plan and working on what the 1, 2, 3, and 4-year priorities are going to be. And that'll be a continual work in progress for 4 years, but also to keep in mind the long-term vision that I mentioned before of Hinton, and keep that in mind because that keeps us from spinning our wheels. Thanks.
Thank you, Stuart, and Marcel Michaels.
I'm not going to try to repeat anything I said tonight. Instead, we elect mayors and councillors based on their policies, and I stand for this, I stand for that. I think you should know a little bit about who I am as a human being, because that matters. I'm the youngest of 5 children. I'm the only boy. I have 4 older sisters, so it's a tough upbringing. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Some people say she never, worked, a day in her life. I wouldn't do her job for one day. My dad, blue-collared man, retired, died a few years later, but had a great life. He had kids and grandkids. That's all he wanted. Saturday mornings were awesome. Cereal and cartoons, right? Remember how much fun that was? But at 9 o'clock about every Saturday, there was something to fix on the house. Okay, great. I figured out after 15 years, there was always something to fix on the house. Also. So we were outside within 10 feet of each other. Didn't talk for 35, 40 minutes. My dad told me, he goes, look up there. What is that? I'm like, okay. Marcel, don't get hit. And I paused and I said something. I said, yes, I see that. It's the sun. He goes, well, it doesn't revolve around you. And for 40 more minutes, he didn't talk to me or anything. I was just doing our chores in the backyard. I learned at a young age that my father tried to give me a message that it's not about me as mayor. It's about our entire council. And that's what you're getting with me. Leadership and somebody who knows that 7 is better than 1, 10,000 is better than 1. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. And now to the council candidates, starting at the far end of the table with Alberta Stashik.
As we've heard here tonight, the issues and concerns that affect our citizens are diverse and yet connected by the common goal of making Hinton a better place to live. A lot of times when politicians use the word growth, they're talking about the physical growth of their community. When I use the word growth, I'm not necessarily talking about growth in that sense. Sure, physically growing bigger is part of it, but it's more than that. What I'm talking about is more of an evolution than a growth. We can evolve into a community that encourages expansion of its residential and commercial bases to offer our citizens those housing and shopping options that I talked about earlier. As a result of that growth, we'll be better able to support our municipal amenities like the rec center, public parks, sports facilities, and more. We can become a stronger lobbying body to pressure the province to fund critical infrastructure for those who need housing assistance, healthcare, or ongoing education. We can become better at finding creative ways to help those who need the help the most, and we can do it all without losing our sense of community or our unique identity. The growth and evolution of a community is not the result of 1 or 2 initiatives operating in isolation. It relies on the support structure provided by all the components of a healthy, well-rounded community. By continuing to lay the groundwork for Hinton's future from a holistic perspective, we will make Hinton a better community for everyone.
Thanks, Albert. Don Harrison.
Thank you. On October 16th, you will be electing a town councillor, one of which will need to have the strength and experience to make the tough decisions. I have this strength and experience. These decisions will need to be based on sound and factual information, quality debate, and consensus, while ensuring a high level of accountability for the great citizens of Hinton. I promise to listen to your concerns and act on them. With your support, I will work tirelessly in council chambers to take on the challenges: economic development, recreation opportunities, seniors care and housing, and the many others that will face our community over the next 4 years. I will ensure that we will get the best value for taxes, that bureaucracy is kept to a minimum to allow our community's continued growth, and ensure the sustainability in the residential, commercial, tourism sectors. I want Hinton to be known as the community of choice and a great place to live and invest in. We have the social capital to do this. I will try to get to see all of you over the next couple of weeks, and if not, face to face, please feel free to call me at 780-718-6197 with any of your questions. On October 16th, vote Don Harrison for Hinton Town Council as your choice, as I am the candidate who believes in value for taxes, people, progress, prosperity, and will serve the residents and ratepayers of Hinton in the positive way that our community deserves. Thank you all, and good night.
Thank you, Don. Dooley Nelson.
Thanks to everyone who's listened and asked questions for the past 3 hours. I'll be hanging around tonight until the Legion tells me I need to go home. Take the time to analyze who you see working with the community, partnering with other municipalities, building relationships, and respecting administration. What was actually said tonight? Were there actual ideas and actions, or was it just generalizations? The last 4 years have been spent on processes. We need to embrace those processes and focus on progress. I have the passion and energy to move forward. I have the background and ability to process information for sound, responsible decision making. I have the support and ear of many of our community leaders, and I look forward to leaning on them when I don't have enough information or I need some context. I love to learn. Council will be a steep learning curve. I hope to spend these next 4 years being an engine for progress, but also putting myself in the best position to be able to lead and mentor the next group of elected officials. I'm a relationship builder. I thrive on collaboration. Although it may bury itself under a layer of confidence, I have a ton of humility. I know I don't know it all, and I know I can't do it alone. I look forward to earning your respect. I want to take this opportunity to thank my amazing wife, my kids, my partners and staff at Intersport, and the large group of people who have supported me throughout this process. Vote for today, vote for tomorrow, vote duly. Thank you.
Thanks, Dooley. Tyler Watt.
Thanks again for coming out, and thanks again to the organizers, and thanks to my fellow candidates for putting their name forward. It wasn't until this time around, being on this side of the table for the first time, that I got a better understanding of just what that means. So it's exciting times for Hinton. We have a number of opportunities we can embrace coming ahead. We also have some challenges we need to address, but I think we have the right systems in place. We've got good leadership. We have a strong administration that I think will help guide council, and I think we are ready to take off. So voters have a choice. There's 8 of us, well, 7 of us up here, minus Trevor. Why vote for Tyler Watt? As I said before, I'm hardworking, I'm invested in the community, and I'm committed to making constructive solutions to some of the issues we're going to face as a community. I've volunteered, I own a small business, I am invested, and I want what's best for everyone and also for my young family. I respect my peers and I respect the process. I'm going to work hard to make informed arguments about the issues that matter and for what I believe at council. But once a decision is made, whether I win or lose, I will support the will of council, and I think that's an important part of the process. You have, thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. Joanne Race.
Thank you. I have to start off by thanking Lorraine Johnson McKay. She was the one who took me to my first standing meeting. I went to that meeting, that table was so impressive, I sat in the deputy mayor's chair, and they asked me to get out. I want to tell you, from that day, I started going to standing committee meetings. I started to go to regular council. I cannot tell you who's winning The Bachelor, but I can tell you we have our debt is $8.1 million. That's what Hinton owes as of December. I can also tell you, should I be elected, I will promise, and I'm not going to take these promises lightly, I will read that package, I will come prepared to council, I will work, and I believe in code of conduct, I do. What Tyler had said, respecting the will of council, that is so important for us to work together as a team and make this happen. Another thing that's very important to me is accountability. You need to hold me accountable. Everything you heard here tonight, you've got to come back and hold me accountable to that. Not just me, to them too. And please, I'm not going to get in if you don't vote for me. So,
thanks, Joanne. Al Steinman.
Thank you for taking the time to find out a little bit more about me. I appreciate that. One of the things that you'll find out about me is I'm really a shy, quiet person, and I never talk to anybody. People that know me just laugh. But I don't always have all the answers. But I'm willing to find them for you. I'm willing to find out what I don't know. I've been doing this now that I'm not working for the town, pending my possible election. So I've been spending a lot of time going out and talking to people in the business community, in the at-risk groups, and finding out what some of the things I'm missing in my information. I'm always looking for a solution. I'm a solution-based person. The problem isn't what I'm looking for. I want to find out a way to make it work. I'm here to represent all of Hinton, not just your segment, your segment, your segment. If I'm elected, my plan is to do the best job that I can for every citizen in Hinton. Thank you very much, and please vote.
Thanks, Alan. Ryan Magoon.
Well, first of all, just thank you to my fellow council candidates for putting themselves out there and looking to serve their community. However, I want to emphasize again, the most important voice in this room is yours. We are perched on some very serious opportunity in our town, and we should be proud of our success from the last 4 years. You think for a moment what the tax rate and what some of the other towns in the region look like over the past 4 years. We have managed to deal with this recession tremendously. We should be proud of that. We don't celebrate that enough. But I think what we now have is the ability to look forward. What can we do together? Let's community build. Let's take care of our seniors. Let's ensure that we have high quality community services. Let's provide efficient, effective, and transparent administration and government to the people. Let's make sure that whomever is elected understands that this job is about people and teamwork and not personal politics. My name is Ryan McGoon, and I respectfully ask for your support and vote so that I can move forward to be your voice on Hinton Town Council. Thank you.
Thanks. I think after all that, I've drawn one conclusion. Everyone will be happy to know, given the answers to a couple questions, the plebiscite question and subsequent geothermal question. Given the councillor and mayor candidates' answers, we will not be needing an immediate plebiscite on geothermal. I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank all the councillors for putting their names forward. I wish them the best with the rest of their campaigns. Thank you to those who came out and toughed it out to the end. And have a good evening. Thanks to the Yellowhead Neighbour Council. If anyone wants to stick around and help stack chairs, that'll be fine.
Alex and I have to leave the camera there, so maybe we'll just watch it quickly.
And I'm over.